Hey everybody, welcome to the closeout party for Return to Monster Island. I'm here with my pal Mike Barron and Spaceman. You're absolutely right. I did go upstairs to get my drink. So
Where's
we
the
ran a little.
cigar?
I don't smoke in the house. My wife would kill me. It would ruin my comics too, and my artwork with all that nastiness. So I only do that outside. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Doing good.
Did you get some good writing in today?
Yeah, I do.
Good. What did I do today? I went fishing yesterday.
Yeah, I saw your fish. Did you eat it?
No, I don't. I don't. Well, bass isn't good eating fish, anyway. And anything that comes out of or anywhere near Lake Erie, I try to avoid eating. Ocean fish. I'll stick with ocean fish. But the season for bass fishing is right now. And last year I missed it because I had hernia surgery, so I wasn't able to climb down into the valley there where the stream is. So it was really fun getting out yesterday in the sun and snagging some smallies. So it's good for the soul, if you will.
Unless you're fishing for soul.
Well, soul that's good eating. I'd eat that. Let me say hello to some folks here in the chat. Greek Hero Bubba is here. Here on the Steadfast. M Sparks. Kino Reviews has jumped over. Excellent. Spaceman I mentioned. Ads 80 said lending party ended abruptly. LOL. Yeah, I mean, usually we'll go. I try to keep it to an hour and a half tops. Sometimes we get off the rails and it goes a little longer. But I kept it down to an hour tonight because I had to do this show. Rick 1662, Cecil Ree, Hoot and Holler. Let's see who else. Toxic Dust 13. Christina Lynn. Hi, Christina. I'm going to be sending you an email shortly. I need you to look over some pages for me. Chris Thacker, our pal, Chris is here. Kino Review says hail, and Coal King is here as well. Cool. We're here to celebrate. Basically, we're closing it out. We're shutting down the campaign tonight. I'm going to click that sign off link, and it could go off in minutes, or it could take up to 3 days, according to Indiegogo. So if anybody out there is watching this in the last minutes, get on it, get those books that you want, because it's shutting down. Then you won't have a chance to get them till fulfillment is done, which will start in September. Here's my pal Andy Smith.
Hey, Andy,
what's going on?
Oh, Sam.
Your mic went in and out. Is going in and out.
Oh, how about now? Is
that's
it better
good.
now?
Yep, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Cheers, Andy.
Yeah, good times. Cheers. I don't have anything, but cheers. If I had a drink, I'd probably fall asleep. Getting up at 5:30, it's
wow.
It kicks your butt.
Why?
So, why? Well, 5:30 actually on Wednesday is my late day. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I get up at 5. But it's to go to the gym. Gym opens at 5:30, but I don't work out on Wednesdays, so I sleep till 5:30.
Wow, I don't get to the gym till like 8:30.
I
wake up at like 6 though. I get up at 6 and go through emails, start my breakfast, my coffee, all that kind of stuff. Then I go to the gym. I was out. I took yesterday off and went. I was telling Mike I went fishing, and I was out in the sun all day, and I was climbing over rocks and up and down into valleys and stuff. And man, it took it out of me. I slept till 8 o'clock this morning.
Dude, going out in the sun all day will kick your ass. When we were in Florida, we were outside from 8 in the morning to 7 at night, and it's just
oh yeah, it'll
beat you down. Yeah,
it's
good for you, but it'll kick your ass.
Oh, I love it. I love being out in the sun. I mean, we don't get it,
I know,
for 8 months around here.
Oh God,
it's tough.
And you don't have a boat, right? You just walk along wherever you go to a lake, or where do you go?
Right now it's creek fishing.
Creek.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
'cause
But
the
you
bass
just walk
creeks.
along the edge or whatever and
Yeah,
cast in.
I actually walk into the creek too, and
Yeah.
get up to like my hips.
Well,
Um,
is it a state park or something?
it's public land. Yeah. Yeah, it's called 18 Mile Creek and it runs for 18 miles and then eventually dumps right into Lake Erie. So
Oh,
right
okay.
now the bass sit on their nests because they're nesting. And then eventually once it warms up, they're going to swim out to Lake Erie and then the fishing will be done in there. And then I got to go out to the lake, but I don't have a boat anymore. I got rid of my boat years
Yeah.
ago and I want to get another one, so I have to shore fish. So my season for that is limited by the heat and the temperatures too, because once it gets hotter, the fish go out to deeper waters. So you need a boat to get the good ones.
Oh yeah, yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
Have you ever done salt water, or did you ever want to?
Oh yeah, I did deep water fishing down in the Keys. Um, I caught a bonita, and this thing is, it's like a tuna. It's like about as big as a tuna, and took
Oh
me
wow.
20 minutes to reel this sucker in, and I'm like pulling on this thing and it's getting close to the boat. And the captain, I hear him go, no, 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 no. And then whammo, the shark comes and hits the fish. And all of a sudden the water is roiling up and it's turning pink and red. And he hits it again. And I keep reeling. I bring it in and I've got this beautiful looking fish like cut in half, like you took a bandsaw and cut it in half.
Oh,
And then part of his side is just bitten out too. And his
Oh.
heart is still beating.
oh, wow,
That's
Yeah.
grim.
It was
wow.
it was crazy. I can show it to you.
Yeah, I think you might have posted it,
Uh,
but like a long time ago. But I love looking at stuff like that. It's weird, I
I
know.
could show you the headless squirrel my dog dragged into the house.
I've seen plenty of
I
pictures of
see that.
those.
Here we go. Let's see here.
The headless
Okay.
squirrel comes
me-
back to haunt you.
Stop screen, present, share screen, window. Here we go. Okay, can you see it?
Oh yeah, I remember
Okay.
that picture from before. Yeah, look at that. That
Right.
cut in half is just
Yeah,
incredible.
look at it, right down here. Now wait a second. You got to see this. I'm gonna click on it because this is a live picture, and it should move.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
Did you see the heart?
Oh man.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Oh. And the propeller cut it in half or whatever.
No, the
Wait,
shark.
what did? Oh,
The shark.
that is such a clean bite. Holy crap. That is just like right in
Yeah.
half.
I
Wow.
couldn't believe it.
Damn.
So he got the fish. I got the story. It was fair.
I don't know. You had a fish in your hand, just not
Yeah,
a full
part
good
of
one
one.
you could do anything with. Yeah, part of
Part
one.
of one.
I mean, I guess what did you do with it? Did you just chuck it back?
Yeah.
Fish food?
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you.
Chris Thacker said he had something happen like that too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'll bet you there's some good fishing up in Maine. That's some cold water fishing there.
Oh yeah.
Cod. Yeah,
Wow.
bait fish. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Use it for that. Jeez.
Marcus,
Yeah, I
I,
had,
don't know. I never saw the
oh.
shark, so I don't know what a kind it was. All I
The kind
saw
you
was
don't want to mess with, period.
what's that?
I said the kind you just don't want to mess with regardless.
Yeah,
It
the
doesn't
kind
matter.
of if it rhymes with shark, I don't want to be near it.
Yeah. And especially you saw, because I assume it was the shark that took the bite out of it too. You saw that. So why would I could take a chunk out of your leg. No, no good. I'm fine. Leave it alone. Just
Yeah.
don't need to touch it. So
Hey, Paul Ravoche is here.
Paul
folks.
Ravoche.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Ah,
Good.
I'm
heard you
sorry
talking
I
about
don't have a
fish.
shaved head.
You sorry, what?
I'm sorry I don't have a shaved head now.
you
We
can
can
have that
fix that,
taken care of by Monday.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to go for the monk look, so
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a bad look for anybody.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
no,
it
I heard
is.
you guys talking about fishing, so
Yeah.
since I know nothing about fishing, I
You
thought
live
I'd
on
see
Lake Erie, man. Same as me.
Lake Ontario.
Oh, you're on Ontario. Right,
Oh.
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
You're
That's
just
right.
around the bend.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great lake for fishing.
Is it?
Ontario's got some great fish. Yeah.
Yeah, we see occasional people, but probably not. I'm in Toronto. It's like in the East End where the beaches are, so we don't really see too many. But there must be some spots. But like I said, I don't know much about fishing.
Right.
But you were talking about sun too,
Hmm.
and I was seeing people talking about sun on X today because there was a guy I reshared. This is kind of just like a connection to what you were talking about. But there's a guy who reshared about sunscreen and all the controversy because the
Mhm.
mainstream says that it causes that the sun causes cancer. So there's a guy I follow on X called the Blue Light Diet who had a really good post where he was using a spectrometer to analyze sunlight, and he was trying to show that actually the reverse is true. That, in his opinion, although mainstream medicine doesn't, they just hate this talk, but is saying the sun is good for you. And
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but
I
we
mean,
grew
To a
up.
degree.
I mean, that's what we were raised on. I mean, as a species, we were raised on
Yeah.
this planet under that sun.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we
Well,
need it.
it's
For
it's
the
God's
vitamin
earth.
D.
It's
Yeah.
God's earth. How could it be? But I mean, we were raised, weren't you, Graham, or you guys? Like, we're all probably
yeah.
roughly like, you're raised to be terrified of it. Like, it's going to give you cancer. And I on X, I reshared a comment, or I made a comment. I also reposted the guy's post, but it was really interesting because what the guy said was that the guy who made the post on X, it's called the Blue Light Diet.
Hmm.
He was responding to somebody who was a truck driver, and the guy was very wrinkled on one side of his face, which was the side near the
Oh,
truck window. And the guy was claiming that all the damage was from the sun, or like mainstream thought, typical allopathic
Right.
medicine would say. So what the guy in the Blue Light Diet has completely the opposite viewpoint. And what he said, using a spectrometer, it was really cool what he did. He was sitting in his car, has a sunroof. He used the spectrometer and he just put it up into the sunlight, and he showed the true band of all the wavelengths and even the UV that's good for you, apparently. And then he
Mhm.
showed that through a glass window, the light is completely filtered, both through the windshield and through the side window. And he was claiming that that's where it should be attributed, like the damages, because the glass
The
is
good stuff is
filtering.
filtered out.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
what I added as a last little thing is I added on X that it immediately twigged me to this experience I had back in the 90s, in the days when you could still go to the cabin. I don't know if you guys ever did that on a flight. You could ask the stewardess if you could go to the cockpit and visit so being a plane geek.
Oh yeah, I never did that, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I was working in animation and I was flying to Taiwan a few times because they had a branch studio back there, and I was sent to check on stuff. So anyway, it was a very long flight, Canadian Airlines or whatever. It was the 90s before all the stuff happened. And so I summoned up my courage and I flagged down the stewardess, and I said, can I go visit the captain? So about half an hour later, they said, yeah, go. So I had this great thing where I sat right behind the captain, and I'm on this flight, and it was the coolest thing because you're in the nose, which you never see the view.
Yeah.
And we happened to be just above the clouds, and you're just ripping along at whatever 500 miles an hour. It was just great. But then we got talking, and I think there for maybe half an hour. But the takeaway that connects to the sun and cancer and stuff is that I guess he got comfortable because I'm sitting behind him, and after a while, what he suddenly does is, like, he was in front of me. I was on the little jump seat, but he kind of looked up and he turned around. He lifted up his captain shirt, with the short sleeves and the tabs and stuff. And he showed me his side, which is like, but he wasn't being inappropriate. What he was doing is he said, you see this sun, like, I've been doing this flight. Like, he's generally a friendly guy, but he said he had gotten skin cancer from being exposed on all these flights going one way, being the captain. I guess he wasn't the other way. He had a theory, like it was the sun coming through the window and it had given him terrible cancer.
Through his clothes?
through his thin like cotton captain shirt or whatever, and on his arm, which was exposed. Now that's why I responded to this guy in X, and I just made a comment. It's not a big deal, but it just twigged me. I thought it was really interesting because it immediately reminded me the guy was the captain was 100% convinced he had gotten cancer from the sun. And then it made me think, like, we're all convinced of these kinds of things. Personally, I don't think that's true at all. And again, I didn't mean to hijack you away from talking about fishing.
It's an interest of mine, because I grew up on the ocean, on beaches, between Long Island and Florida. And so as a kid, I was at the beach all the time. I was out in the sun all the time. And in Florida, we didn't even know what shirts and shoes were, back then. And, I've gone to dermatologists, to get stuff checked because I am sort of lighter skinned. I'm Irish and I have light eyes. I've got green eyes. That makes you at higher risk.
They say.
Yeah. But I mean, I tan very easily. And once I tan, then I don't burn because the tannins are your protection against the burn.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the burn that damages the cellular structure. And that's when you have old skin damage like I have, it's from times I was burned. But now what I've been doing is, for years now, I'll go out when the weather starts to get nice and I'll go out for 15 minutes and just lay out in the sun. And I feel like $1,000,000. You get that base tan and then I can go to a beach in the middle of August, 85 degrees and stay out there all day and not get burned with no cream on me or anything.
There's another guy I follow that's called, I think he's called, it's pretty funny, Sol Bra, like SOL and then the word BRAH. People on Twitter with their handles. I think it's that guy. But he said the same thing. He said it's a sun callus you can build up. Like all the reverse is true. Things that are hidden from us because they want to make a lot of money and scare us, make a lot of money selling us all this stuff. And I think one of these guys was saying that a lot of this stuff is caused by, like I personally believe this, it's caused by processed food, seed oils, canola oil, all that stuff. And it makes your skin, it makes you inflamed. It makes your skin susceptible to all this damage. And then they turn around and say, oh, it's because of the sun. And you need to smear this cream on you and be terrified and stay indoors, which is going to make you worse. And then when you get older and you start succumbing to all these things and they keep you in their like harvest stream of making all this money off your sickness. And it's been the biggest thing for me to wake up to that. Like, I never questioned that most of my life. Like, food, like I didn't dismiss it, but I thought, food's just something you eat, and it's like just fuel. It's like the nature of it's not gonna make a big difference. And I didn't distinguish between like processed food and eating something much closer to nature.
Right.
So that's just made
single ingredient food.
And the less package and label, and all the ingredients where they have like polydextrose sorbate 25,000, all these numbers and stuff. What do you guys think?
Well, that's why they tell you to do your grocery shopping on the outer perimeter of the store, none of the inside aisle stuff.
You know what's good is olive oil.
Olive
oil. You substitute that for butter, and certainly not canola oil. Anything like that.
I read all the ingredients, the labels now, and I just like stay away. Do you guys know a lot of people?
Best fat is saturated fat, butter, tallow, ghee. And second behind that is olive oil, but it's been demonized. Saturated fat has been demonized since the 1950s, since Ansel Keys's seven country report, which is, it turned everybody against it. It brought big money, Procter and Gamble money into the American Heart Association, and obesity and diabetes rates have gone through the roof since those things have happened, since they've taken saturated fat and eggs and stuff out of our diet and replaced it with low fat. When something is taken out like that, you have to replace it with something else, and it's usually sugar and salt. And that food is just horrible for you. I eat bacon and eggs every morning.
Yeah, me too.
I should.
It's great every morning.
You which?
So I have eggs. I eat eggs every morning. I love eggs.
I put heavy cream in my coffee.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. What I'm curious about with you guys is like in our generation being somewhat older, Do you think that a lot of people are waking up to this? Because how do you get the pulse of that? Because I'm really curious because I feel like instinctively a lot of people have figured this out in, let's say, the last 5 years or so. Somehow it's osmotically transmitting somehow behind the scenes, like, because I'm going, I can't be unique. Then we're here talking. There's probably people listening. I'm not looking at the chat, but I will. Like, I'm just wondering how many people are really figuring this out. Like, wait, this really is a big factor. Because, like, even for me back in January, I had some really bad problems. And it was like my body telling me, finally cut out the last thing, which was bread. I just stopped eating any bread, or like I'd eat bacon and eggs with toast. And I just cut that out completely. Only eat natural sugars like maple syrup, honey, raw honey. Fantastic. And I'm not putting on weight doing that. See, I was thinking, oh, if I eat that stuff, it'll make me fatter. But once I cut out all the processed food and just eat like hamburger, eggs, like what you guys are talking about. Eggs, butter, whatever. No bread, almost no, well, pretty much no packaged foods or anything like that.
I drink bread. It's called beer.
I do have beer occasionally. Like, I'm gonna have this.
That's the only bread I have. I drink it.
Yeah. That's right.
I have English muffins.
But I mean,
I do like bread.
Wait, guys, I gotta go.
Okay, Mike.
Good luck, Graham. You're gonna kill it.
Thank you, Mike.
See you later, Mike.
Good seeing you guys. Have a great night.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for bread, but I mean, I don't eat it that much at home and stuff. So
yeah, I don't
like weekends is when I like.
But there's a difference, Andy, between like homemade bread with you know, with real ingredients versus bakery bread.
Right.
You buy it at your grocery store. Even the bakery at the grocery store is not real bakery bread. You look at the ingredients on that. Maltodextrin and all this other shit in there, you know. Real bread, the staff of life that they made back in Christ's day is completely different than the bread.
Oh, yeah.
Because all the vitamins and stuff was in there.
Yeah, yeah. And
now it's ground out.
You've probably read that when I've seen anecdotal things on X where people say, I moved to Europe for a year or two, and then the bread and the food there was completely different. Yeah. Because they don't allow certain additives or whatever it was.
Right.
And I think that's probably completely accurate. There's something over here in North America, like even in the sort of more high quality, well, just like what you said, Graham, there's something going on where, you know, and I think also there's an individual thing, like if maybe Andy, you tolerate it. I just found I just couldn't tolerate it anymore. I literally couldn't eat it anymore. I just couldn't eat it. It's probably an aging thing where my body was telling me, like, bro, you know, just like, no.
Right.
So, but you know, it's hard when you're suffering, it's hard to figure it out. Like, I really feel for everybody that's out there, you know.
Sure.
You don't know which way to go. Like, and then you go to the doctor.
It's confusing because they make it confusing. And you know, the government and their upside down food pyramid. You have these so-called, you know, dietitians telling you need to eat more vegetables, more this, that, and the other thing, which is antithetical to the way our ancestors ate. You know, to get all the nutrients. You know what's better than eating vegetables is eating an animal that can eat vegetables. That can process that and build muscle out of it. Like cows have no shortage of muscle, and they don't eat protein, but they have chambered stomachs to be able to process and draw the nutrients out of everything. That goes into their flesh. We eat that, we get all the stuff we need. You know, no carnivore has ever gotten what is that when you don't have vitamin C? Not rickets, scurvy. You know, like the old sailors used to get, because they had these carbohydrate-rich diets and they weren't eating fresh meat. So they had to have citrus on the ships to prevent scurvy. You know, carnivores don't get scurvy because you don't have the need for vitamin C, as much vitamin C, when you're consuming that whole protein from chambered stomach animals.
Yeah, 100%. I'm seeing in the chat that Chris Thacker, you're right. It's called Roundup, Paul. He's saying, no, you're right. It's all that just psychotic, like, who is it? Bill Gates stuff, all the controlled farmlands and
Bill Gates,
glyphosate crops and all that stuff. But that's what I'm saying is I figure out a lot of people with ribeye steak. Yeah, it's pretty expensive though. I don't know about where you guys are, but it's just crazy here. The money. I was at my supermarket. I go walk shopping to my supermarket with my backpack every day, and it's like, like I was looking at the sirloin steaks. It's like a steak, a normal. It was like $20, $25 for like a normal strip loin.
Oof.
Wow.
That's in our Canuck bucks, which are whatever, but it's
not that far off anymore. I don't think.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know if it's that bad here. At
No,
least
I
not down
just
here.
bought New York strips for $15.99. No, I bought the ribeyes. I bought ribeyes at the Niagara produce market that were $16 a pound for ribeyes. Now I can go to some place and pay $24 a pound, but I can get choice. That's choice, but I can get prime ribeyes at this place for $19 to $20 a pound for prime.
Right.
So that's sounding better, I guess. I don't know. Is that you're saying it's less where you are?
I'm saying it's less than what you're paying. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because here it's just nutty. I mean, it's like if I go and buy 5 things at the local here, I don't want to turn your closing out thing into a food prices in Canada moan stream, but you buy like I have a little game where can I go in there and buy a few basic things and not spend more than or spend less than $30, but it almost always fails.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we're building back better over here, and
that's right. Come on down.
Everything costs more. You know what doesn't cost more? Dan Lawless.
Dan
What,
Lawless.
you said I'm
he's
cheap?
free.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm
You're a
cheap.
you're a cheap date, Dan.
Oh,
Cheap whore.
that's what the girls tell me.
That's
Welcome,
right.
brother.
How you doing?
And when I saw that picture of you and Malin and Tucci at Motor City, because I only have seen you from shoulders up,
Yes.
and there you are standing there. And same with Malin. I've never seen him but shoulders up. I don't know. It was kind of thrown off because I've met Billy obviously in person, hung out, but seeing you and Malin, I'm like, wait, is that Dan? Hold on. Oh yeah, that is Dan, covering everything except for your shoulders on up. Oh, is that Malin? Oh yeah, that is. So it was I don't know. It was weird.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. I didn't even know that was you at first. It's that lighting you always have too. Because like here, just looking at you now, your beard looks darker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I got darker light. I mean, the lighting does affect the.
And you're not
Dude,
wearing
it's
glasses either.
Oh yeah, that's true
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I
you're not
wouldn't have
wearing
recognized
glasses.
you.
Yeah,
you wearing a mask?
everyone pointed out the very nippliness we have here.
Oh yeah, look at that. All you guys. Was it
John
cold in
Jones,
there?
yeah, he's got the
In
move.
my aging body, I have to now be careful.
Was
I
it
might need some
chilly in
support,
there?
So we had a great time though. Oh my gosh, I had a ton of fun. Obviously Billy is a walking party, so
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a good time.
it's just
He's
so
the
much-
Energizer Bunny.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's so fun. But John's really, of course, John's a character too. I mean, he's a great guy, and I really enjoyed talking to him. Actually, I wish I had more time to talk to both these guys, but I mean, you know how it is when we get together, all us comic guys, we just like you could talk for like 10 hours. It's like there's so many subjects, like what's going on and what's all this about, and the comic book industry, what's your history in the comic book industry. I mean, there's so much information that. Maybe some of the stuff you wouldn't want to say online too, just like what's going on with that person, and just you never get a chance to say that kind of stuff. So, but it was really neat because now Billy met with I think 3 or 4 of his army buddies, longtime army buddies, and they were there with their wives at the restaurant, and they were just so. I mean, I would have felt like you were invading, someone else's party, but they were so nice, and they just brought us in like one of the family, and they were just all a bunch of really great guys. So I really enjoyed my time with them. It was a great thing.
You
So
should come out to Garden State.
I know I'm tempted.
You should.
It's 9 hours for me driving though, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it too, Dan.
It's
I
8
was-
hours.
Now, Graham, I busted his chops because you drive down, and didn't you tell me it's like 7 for you?
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
7
So I
and a
told
half.
Dan,
Yeah.
I said, "Wow, Graham's driving 7. I drive 10. Oh,
Wow.
it's 9 hours. Split the
Yeah.
difference and get in the
I
car.
can't handle
You'll
it.
make a lot of money, Dan, and you'll have a lot of fun because the after party, the cigar Hawaiian shirt whiskey fest that I
Yeah, I know.
throw
I saw the videos
is
last year.
a
It
ball.
looked like a lot of
Yeah.
fun, you guys.
You know, I was gonna.
But what about you said make a lot of money though? I don't have a booth or anything, so how would you make a lot of money? If you,
Yeah,
Well,
same
you just have a
question.
table.
I'm saying
have a
I don't
table,
think there's tables available.
They're
are
sold.
there?
They're sold out. I looked.
Yeah.
I looked last night.
Yeah, I don't
They're-
know if there's any around.
Contact Dave O'Hare and see if he'll give you an invite, because that's what's sold out are the exhibitor booths.
Right.
But if
But
you get
dude,
brought in as a
I
guest,
mean,
it's
it's definitely worth contacting him just to see. But
Yeah.
man,
Dave's a
every
great
day
guy.
I see him posting so many.
Yeah.
I mean, this show's going to be
Tell him
huge
you're
compared to
TG
last
guys,
year.
and
Yeah.
Okay,
he'll sit you with us.
Do you if after the show if you have the contact stuff? Because no, I was this thing's been you learn to listen to intuition, right? So I've just been thinking like I've been isolated here too long. I'd love to meet all you guys, see the show, meet people, whatever. So yeah, I think like if after the show or at some point, if you know the person you're saying to contact, I definitely try that because it is a bit of a hike. But now you've destroyed my excuse, which I was going. It's 7.5 hours to drive from Toronto, but then you guys are citing longer times. So
That's right.
there you go.
Yeah.
Paul, I'll come up through Michigan. I'll go into Toronto, pick you up.
Well,
There you go.
Yeah. Or something, or I'll meet you in I don't know, where would it be? Michigan, Buffalo,
I'm Detroit area, so
Detroit.
Yeah,
Okay,
so he
so
would
that-
come, that's one way to go over is come up
Yes.
through
Yeah.
through Toronto or through Canada, instead of
Yeah.
down and around.
All right, I got to boogie out of here.
All right, brother.
I got
Hey.
that other commitment, but good luck. It was great seeing you guys, and I'll catch you guys later.
Great
I'll see you
seeing you,
probably
Randy.
on
Thanks,
Friday,
buddy.
Graham.
What's
for
that?
the launch.
Oh,
So-
thank you.
Yeah.
We'll
Send
see you
that
then.
link for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do.
All right,
Take care.
dude.
Yeah,
Take it easy,
Andy.
everybody. Bye bye.
okay, well, you never know, Dan. That might even work. We should talk after the show because whatever works. Like, I'm just thinking, yeah, I'd like to do it, but I was also trying to do the calculation. Like, if I'm not in a table, then I'm just an attendee, and it's all expense, which I do have to look at. Like, if I can't sell sketches or sit there and meet people. So it's like you're doing that calculation. And if I can't get a table, I still might go, but
Mhm.
because it would just be fun. So it'd be more like a vacation, just be free of, because there is a
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
pressure, right?
if you can get you a table in a hotel room, you'll be good to go. It'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
Kina
fun,
Reviews
it'll
is
be
trying to
good
tempt me
exposure.
with alcohol.
What's that?
Who
Kina
is?
Reviews is trying to tempt me with alcohol.
Let's see what he has to say. Hotels book, got my pass, and willing to drive 9 hours. Come on, Dan, make the trip.
Gonna use shame tactics.
Yeah, well, I shamed Kino into going.
Oh, I see. These are.
He was thinking about it. I said, do it. And then he decided he's going to do it. So,
Chris is saying, see if someone will share a table, Paul. So how do I do that? How do I see who would share a table? Because I don't want to be the guy tugging on people. Say like, sir, will you share your table with me?
Now, hey, I don't understand Nomsky's tweet here, though. He says, get Dan out here, bald kings only. Well, I have hair.
Yeah, well, there you
Still.
go. Good.
Still, knock on wood. So I'm not there yet. Got to give it, got to give it a few years,
it's coming.
Thank you for that.
You get used to it.
You
get
know,
used to it.
I would see you guys. You do all right with the bald hair, but my head is like a giant head. So if I go bald, it's like
Yeah, but you know what? My head, I thought I had a bumpy head because I can feel all these indents from shit I did as a kid. But once it's shaved off, you realize it visibly it isn't, but to your, so you really don't know what it's going to look like till you shave it off. And I had hair, but during COVID and everything was closed up, I got, sick and tired of it. And so I just shaved it, and I was like, oh, hey, that's a lot better than I thought. So I
Okay.
just kept shaving it. I like the look. I mean, I was crowning in the back. I'd see pictures of me at cons, like this drawing, and then the camera's here. I'm like, oh shit, crop circle. So I just say, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. So I just started to shave.
Yeah, it's hair today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot
Hey,
of
let's
people. Chris
share the
Hacker,
campaign
Chris
real
Thacker,
quick
9
here.
hours.
Got to do a little business here.
Okay.
Today is the closeout of Return to Monster Island. Once the show is over, I'm gonna hit the button at Indiegogo and close it out. It could happen once I click the button immediately, or it can take up to 3 days. I say this because we've got looks like 253 people watching right now. It could be some new folks watching through X who haven't seen the campaign. This really is your last chance to get on board and get these books. The end of the year, or rather in October, I'll be launching Escape from Monster Island, which is the third part of the trilogy. So you're going to need these 2 books to follow along. So I suggest that you grab them now while you can. Otherwise, they won't be available on my website until after all the backers are fulfilled. So, I just urge you to grab the books. We've got lots of cool stuff. When you go to the website, it's on Indiegogo. You can read about it. I'll just read it. What the hell? We got time, right?
Yeah.
When the intergalactic repository known as Monster Island reappears over the Bering Sea, our heroes Mac and Duke are called back in action. Why haven't the Gooch returned? Why have the Gooch returned? Why is the containment field down, allowing giant monsters to escape? Mac and Duke have to find answers to these questions and find them fast because the Russians are there as well. And there's nothing they would like to get their commie hands on some alien technology and change the balance of power. High adventure, action, and romance await you when you return to Monster Island. Here's the main cover of the book. These are stretch actually I build in stretch goals right from issue number 1 that sold from the first sale. So you get the book, you get the bookmark, you get a vinyl sticker of the logo, spot UV on the cover, upgraded paper. Here's an example of spot UV. You can see it on this logo. See how it's all shiny?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
that was a cool, man. The
all,
printing you can do today. I know. I saw it. It's fantastic. I
Very
got
nice.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's got a perfect bound spine. It's a matte finish on here. There's nothing like this. There's nothing that Marvel and DC is producing that can match this quality of this book. Heavier grade paper. Just from a product standpoint, it's better. And price per page is almost exactly what you pay for the floppies from Marvel and DC. So it really is a great deal. You get all the stretch goals that come with the book. And you can choose if you just want the one book, you can get that. I have a framed version of the book. So on the cover, there's a frame containing it. We've got challenge coins. The first challenge coin was for the Ghost of Matacumba Key. Now we have Monster Island, and next on Friday I'll be launching the Joe Frankenstein 3 campaign, which will also have a challenge coin. Eventually, we're going to get do a display case for all the challenge coins so that you can put them all out. So you probably want to get those. We've got drink coasters. It's summertime. You don't want to ruin your furniture. You want to look at those really cool Compass Comics comics. There they are on your drink coaster.
Hey, is there a buy you a beer selection this time?
Oh yeah, it's not on here. It's at checkout. So once you buy a thing, then you can go.
Yeah, I did that last time.
I think it was a cigar, wasn't it? Was it a cigar?
No, it was some kind of drink. I'm pretty
Was
sure.
it? Oh, it could have been beer. Maybe it's a cigar on this one.
Okay.
It's by Graham, a cigar on this one. You can get the 2 books together, the Monster Island package deal. This has the original black and white Monster Island, which Paul will love to know that it was basically a love letter to Roy Crane. It's done in duo shade. And it's Monster Island is a love letter to Jack Kirby Giant Monsters and Roy Crane's Buzz Sawyer. So that's what the series morphed out of. So the first one was done just like Buzz Sawyer. Then you have the Ultimate Cover Package, which collects these 2 are the same books as these 2, but they just have different cover versions. Is a signed cover package, so you can get all the books signed. We have CGCs; those are signed and slabbed. You can get a head sketch. And then if you really want a really great drawing, you can get 11 by 17 commissions. I don't do commissions outside of my campaign, so this is the only way to get me to do something. So it might be something you might be interested in. It's it's pricey, but it's less than I would charge on the street. So here's a large size shots of the stuff.
You know what I think is interesting about this stuff is Marvel and DC would not take a chance on this kind of an approach because they're so focused on protecting their IPs and just nursing those. They don't really I think they've lost their way as to what people really want. Like in other words, you're creating this from the heart. You love monsters, you love adventure, you love heroes.
Yeah.
And it's like what you want, which means most likely it's going to be what the readers really want. And I think that's what's interesting about this independent movement now that it's really established and really strong, is that people, I think the readers are going to start to realize, hey, this is what I really wanted all along. Because when you're just fed the same shit over and over and over, as cool as it is, I mean, superheroes are cool.
When they're done right, they're cool.
Yeah, but also, even if they're cool, again and again and again, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not,
Dan, I know exactly what you mean. Like I've said this before on streams. I just have the most vivid memories of being a boy in 1969 in Montreal, 10 years old, and it was like discovering comics.
Ooh, more backers. Thank you, guys.
That's cool. And then going into the comic shop and discovering in that time where they're doing all those showcase comics, DC, and in that era, then all these new things were coming out. They were throwing things at the wall, and it was like going into this fantastic ecosystem of imagination. Where you didn't know as a little kid like what you'd find, and it wasn't just like, oh, let's just repeat the same character but find a new adventure to put him on. There's also like just all these new comics. Like I remember, do you guys remember that one, The Secret Six? It wasn't published for very long. I remember just loving. Sorry, who?
Dan Spiegel.
Right, yeah, it's just great, just so strange, and
well, DC used to take a chance back then in the 60s, like they released a lot of Brother Power the Geek, Hawk
and the Creeper,
the Creeper,
the Hawk and Dove and the Creeper. I remember finding Hawk and Dove, and it just like was the weirdest. Like my parents weren't paying attention. It wasn't like it was inappropriate, but it's just like as a little kid, I was like, I didn't really know what all this was because I didn't get the references about the Vietnam War and the peaceniks versus, and the same thing with Jack Kirby when he did the Glory Boat, apparently, like in the New Gods, that the one with they're on a raft and there's a peacenik character and there's a warmonger older guy. So he was tying all those things in, but as a kid, I didn't get all those references, but I just got this incredible storytelling. Or I've said this before on stream. I remember in Showcase, Bernie Wrightson did Nightmaster, the sword and sorcery thing. It was about this guy in a British like record store or something. He goes in the back of it and he goes through a portal into like a sword and sorcery kind of fantasy universe. It's probably not very well known. It was called Nightmaster, and it was probably picking up on the Barbarian stuff and Conan and all that. But
let me answer this question real quick, Paul.
Sure.
Any Ghost Challenge coins left? I think you mentioned before they were put on the website. Yeah, in the Joe Frankenstein campaign launching Friday, you'll have the opportunity to get all 3 coins in that one. So we'll have them there.
And I got to address this question or comment from Sequential Treasures. That's James Mealy.
Yeah.
He says, I'm looking like Ming the Merciless with my beard here.
Oh,
I never used to sport this, but he doesn't even know, what my hair can do here. Hang on a second.
You need a mask. You need a costume for next time.
Yeah, really. Flash.
There you go. How's that?
Somebody screen capture that.
No. You're going to get me going on movies that are adaptations.
Yes, Eric.
I have super straight hair that
I got to get something.
Friday at noon, launching Joe Frankenstein 3 here on the channel. you've backed other stuff of mine. You should have gotten an email about it. So check your emails, make sure that stuff's not going into spam, because I've been emailing about this stuff.
And no, I was going to say, because you did the Flash Gordon movie. That's what that was, right?
Oh yeah.
What I said, what I was singing. Yeah.
Flash.
Flash. Ah.
This is one of the greatest science fiction novels ever created.
Ah.
But the movie they made from it, I'm going to offend somebody out there in the chat, but the movie
that
they made
iRobot?
from it is,
It's not.
despite having the beautiful young Jenny Agutter,
Yeah.
it's just an abomination. And this book, when you read it, it's short and it's just brutally fast-paced, truly badass writing, science fiction.
Is that iRobot, Paul?
Logan's Run?
No, it's
Logan's Run.
George Clayton Johnson and William F. Nolan.
Exactly. And just so well written, you can't put it down. And it just goes from beginning to end. You'd sit there reading it. And I read
Have you ever seen The Intruder, the Roger Corman film with William
No.
Shatner as a race baiter who goes into the southern town?
No.
Well, George Clayton Johnson and William F. Nolan are actors in that movie.
Okay. I'm going to write it
And-
down. The Intruder.
And George Clayton Johnson became a writer, obviously, and so did William F. Nolan. And Clayton Johnson wrote The Man Trap for Star Trek.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you read this, it's another favorite of mine is the Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester. And it's got the same quality in this book, Logan's Run, which is it keeps you moving forward and new invention, new scenarios, new scenes, new characters. And you can't really predict what's going to happen. So whereas the movie, I'm sorry, but to me, it was like I was starting to say, so as a science fiction teen geek guy reading all this stuff, you go to the movie and you get this cheesy kind of just abomination of a movie compared to what the book was supposed to be. It's the perfect vehicle now if they put the money into a miniseries and did it right. If you had the proper director and writing and stuff, it just could be great. And the same for properties like The Star's My Destination by Alfred Bester.
I think Howard Chaykin did a semi-adaptation of that. It wasn't a full comic book adaptation, but he had some images in the book.
Yeah, it was a sort of it was published by Byron Price Visual Publications that I did a bunch of work for back in the 80s. And I don't want to be on stream saying negative things, but I didn't feel it did it justice. Let's put it that way. The adaptation of The Star's My Destination. But I don't know what Howard would say, but
you can ask him when you're at New Jersey Comic Fest, because he'll be there.
You can apologize to him then. Go ahead, tell us what you think.
He's going to come up to me and go, "You said what?"
He's not watching.
No, I don't think so. But, it's the internet, Dan, right? It's like, who knows?
Well, Howard's been on my show a few times.
Just talk quietly into the mic. Whisper.
No one will clip it
It's
or
just
record
private.
it.
It's just the three of us
Yeah,
talking.
it's just us.
Yeah.
By the way, wasn't it us three that was in the closeout for the initial 30 days?
It might have been, yeah. I don't know.
It could have been.
Yeah, I think so.
Could have been.
I know it was just us three for something closing out, and I think it was this.
It was
the
probably
first.
this, because this was the last one that I had up. Let's do a refresh here and see if we've picked up any more backers. So where are we at? 121,290. Picked up one more backer. 121,315. Beautiful.
I have a question, if I might, Graham. That
Please.
is there a structure or thinking? How do you think about when you're creating a new campaign about the tiers? Like how many, what type, how much of a difference in price?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just intuitive? Is there an art to it? Is there a rationale to it?
It's the hardest part about putting together. I've been working on Friday's launch for over a week, and it's still not complete. I'll be finishing it up tomorrow. I'm trying to think of ways to present things on the information side, and then you have to create assets for the perk side.
Right.
You have to think about your copy. What are you describing it so that when you have to fulfill this stuff, your description matches the product, so that whoever is fulfilling it, knows that they're getting the right stuff. There's a lot to it. There really is.
That's what that's why I'm asking, because I'm sensing like behind, people are going to go on Indiegogo and see all this stuff, but I can see clearly, even from like what I've been ramping up, like working on Instagram and YouTube videos and learning about the interface, YouTube Studio, blah, blah, blah. There's just a million things. It's not a complaint. It's just that there's a steep ramp that you're learning, that it's different than when back in the 80s we're working for companies. You just have to figure out drawing the comics, send it in, wait for the paycheck or what have you, like that, right? So that's why I'm trying. That's why I appreciate any, like, there's a lot more to this than just throwing it at the wall. I mean, you still don't know what it looks like is going to happen, but there has to be some intelligence behind, like, how many tiers? Like, is it better to have a few of them with a big gap between, or is it better to have a lot? They have to be
different. You have to offer tiers that you think your backers are going to be interested in. That's going to offer them something different than another tier. And then there's the add-ons, so that the stuff that's not a tier, but when they back it, when they're going to their checkout cart, they can add stuff on.
Oh, okay.
Like for example, if you have a book, and let's say you're going to do a challenge coin, right? So that might be 2 tiers. You could package that as the 2 of them together as a single tier, so that they can get that challenge coin. But what if they want a sketch too? Now, if you have a sketch tier, now somebody's got to check out with the other 2 and buy the sketch tier separately and incur separate shipping. But if you put the sketch tier in as an add-on, then when they're checking out, they can add the sketch with no additional postage, because it just goes right in with the book.
Okay.
Makes it simpler. It saves them money.
So you're trying to anticipate who would want what combination, how many sort of, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And I guess you could compare and take notes from other campaigns and
absolutely do that.
What
look at successful campaigns, look what they put up, see if any of that you can work for yourself, what works for you. I just went on Kickstarter because Kickstarter is much more visual in how they present their information side. And so I was looking at how some of these people or companies put up like here. I'll show you. I started doing this instead of typing out.
Hey, by the way, Andy just blew us off to go on Shane's show with Pimp My Comic.
Oh yeah. Well, he's got to do his shit. He's got to do it. I'm pimping mine. He's got to pimp his. I get it. So like, instead of writing this as type, I create a graphic for it.
Okay.
So it's more interesting to see and look at. Same thing here.
Oh, okay. That's a good tip.
Because visuals are so much easier and more interesting to look at than just writing the stuff out. You can do that because that's what they set up for you. But I noticed that campaigns like on Kickstarter do a lot of the graphic stuff. So that's what I've been incorporating into mine is adding graphic information.
That's smart.
Honestly, I probably never read the copy on an Indiegogo campaign ever.
But no, that's a good.
So I'm trying to figure out who wrote it or who
drew
it.
Here's some copy. I would now maybe put that into a graphic of some type.
But you're saying that typically the Indiegogo interface, it doesn't give you the option of creating more elaborate graphics. So you post it as an image, like a JPEG that you've created separately.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's an asset that I would have to create
cool.
ahead of time, and then I just drop it in.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Same thing with all this stuff here, like this. The everything package. I had to import all that stuff, put a background back there, put the type up. It'll tell you on the Indiegogo thing what the size is, what the pixel size is. So you make a template for that, and then you can just drop the stuff in, save it as a JPEG, and then just, drag and drop it into the campaign.
Okay, and I have another question too, unless you want to do more. So, okay, you're doing crowdfunding, and you're fulfilling by printing it and shipping it and all that good stuff. Is there a reason that, or do people later, like say you have Monster Island, is there a case, or do people do this, where they would reprint it later like say on Amazon Kindle, print on demand in a smaller format, like a 6x9 graphic novel format, where it can be perpetually on demand. Like, is that against the idea of, like, are you trying to create a limited quantity so that they're more collectible, and you would
No.
violate that? Or like, is there a reason?
Using Amazon is poor business. If you're a publisher, which you are now, if you're doing this crowdfunding stuff, you've already made your deals with your printers and all that stuff. You've figured out what you're doing for fulfillment. There's no reason to give up half of that stuff to Amazon, where all you're going to be is white noise. What you do is you overprint and you keep a website up of your company, of your product or whatever. And then when the campaign's over and people start discovering you through new campaigns, you can send them over to the website to get the other stuff that you overprinted on. And then you can sell that to them there. Keep them, new people coming into it. And also when you overprint, you drop your price point per unit, because, the lower you print run, the more expensive it is per unit.
Right. Of course, yeah.
And the more you print, the lower that cost goes down. So like I just ordered these challenge coins, and I typically I order 150 of them, but there seems to be a demand for them. So I created the new one. I sent it in. I said, I want 200 of them. So they gave me a price for 200 and then a price for 300. And it was only a $200 difference to get another 100.
Oh, I see.
Where it was like over $1,000 to get 200. So it was more like $500 per 100. And just by an extra couple $100, they waived this minting fee, to create a certain kind of template. So it cost me a couple $100. Now I've got 300 of them. So now I won't run short, and I could sell them on the website. So,
Makes
the
sense.
stuff you learn as you're going along.
Yeah. And
Graham, let's say you print out your books, whatever, and you get the price per book based on how many books you're printing. Then you want to come back and get some extra printed. Does that mean you have to pay, if let's say it's much more lower number, does that mean you have to pay the higher price for those small number?
Yes.
There's no like adding on to the other one. Okay.
No. Mm-mm. That's why you up that number at the front end.
Right.
You have to deal with storage, where you're gonna put all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, comics don't take up a tremendous amount of storage space, do
they? They're in boxes, you can stack them and all, but we ended up renting a building to put all our stuff in, our fulfillment center. So we've got our inventory there, and then we've got tables set up with for shipping, for packing and shipping and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know how I don't know how Aaron can do it in his living room. I would lose my mind, having shit all over the place, materials, packing stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Different size boxes, and unfolded boxes take up a lot of space, and you can't pre-fold them. So,
these are the kind of things I'm not nearly at that point yet, but I'm very determined. But I'm just thinking ahead, like I'm in an apartment in Toronto. So it's like, and that's where I started thinking, like the point of something like Amazon is, I see exactly what you're saying, Graham. There's no argument, but it's just like they do the fulfillment and print on demand as the customer wants it. Sure, they take a cut, but you have a perpetual worldwide audience. But I understand also clearly with this 1984 book I was involved with through Rebel, I see the problem, which is getting eyeballs on it consistently. Mm-hmm. Because you've got so many competitors, then you have to spend money on either Amazon ads or Facebook ads or Google ads or God knows who ads, and you're hoping that they'll grab on and Google keywords or AdWords or all these things that you have to get into, knowing about and knowing how to, like each one of these things seems to be a skill set. Like I watched a bunch of videos just trying to learn about the whole thing with like Amazon and related types of ads where you buy keywords for a certain amount of time, but you have to compete and you have to bid for them and all this stuff. And it's like, so wow. Yeah, no, there's a whole thing to it. There's apps that and sites that will help you about, you have to put in a number. I don't want to go into a thing because I don't even understand it well enough, but that's the basic idea, is that you don't just buy an ad. You have to actually put in a bid when you go in those interfaces. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm anticipating like, okay, so would I rent a place? But then that's another expense here in Toronto.
Yeah, I
So
wouldn't do that at first. You know, you
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need to build small. You know,
Yeah.
and start and see what what your print run is the first time out of the
Yep.
gate. You know,
Makes sense.
you have to print stretch goal goodies, that kind of stuff. I suggest keeping those things that are very easy to print and
Yeah,
ship.
makes sense.
You know, not bulky things or things that are sharp or edgy, stuff that you can put in your mailer with your comic without damaging the comic.
That makes
You know,
sense. Perfect
because
sense.
those are free. You're giving those free. So, you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a cost to you, but the customer gets it for free. So you want to keep the cost down and you want to keep it easy enough to ship.
And Chris is
Yeah,
saying you
yeah.
can
There's
get,
like critical blast and stuff. They will fulfill your stuff too. Like
Yeah.
these guys are talking about here. Chris is
Yeah, yeah.
mentioning here.
that might be the way to go.
You know,
And
that's
listen, I'm dumb and new to this. What exactly is a challenge coin? Like, I just don't know what that is. So
I'll show you.
it's probably good for the people out there to see if anyone hasn't seen it.
so. What you got to eat 5 pizzas? Is that the challenge?
Challenge coin comes from
You
the
slap
military.
that on, Paul. You slap that on the desk. It's like you
Yeah.
got to do whatever the person says.
It comes from the military, and
That's good. I like it.
you have to buy. You know, they have these different coins for different parts of the service for different organizations and stuff. And if you're at a bar and you throw it down, and you know that's your challenge. If the guy has one with him and he throws it down, you got to buy. If he doesn't,
Wow.
now he has to buy the round. You know, so this is a
Do they work
challenge.
the same way with the comics? If someone puts that down,
I don't know if it does. This is the Monster Island one. So on the one side, you know, I've got Compass Comics. Can you see that? Here,
Yeah,
let me
Sure.
make me
Yeah,
big.
Yes.
So there we go. Okay, so this is 2 inches. See how thick it is?
yeah.
This is heavy. It's all steel. It's got the Compass
Cool.
Comics logo. I have the little legend here, the Compass Comics legend. Then this is Series 1, and on the back side is the image from the first Monster Island comic. It says Monster Island, and the year it was originally published in 1998 from Compass Comics.
Cool.
So, so I've done that. The first one I did that with was Ghost of Matacumba Key. This is the second one, and I have one coming out for Joe Frankenstein as well. So they're
Nice.
So
really
you got really what's your 4 Well, you actually got 5 properties because you had the what was the
you got Alien Alamo,
Alien
got
Animal,
Canoe,
Canoe, and Ghost of
and-
Matacumba Key, and then of course Monsters of just what
Monster Island.
Monster Island, and
Joe Frankenstein too.
and Joe Frankenstein. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so five properties. That's good.
So
Do
Monster
you
Island,
have any
Joe
more in mind?
Frankenstein,
Is there any in
Alien
the?
Alamo Ghost? Yeah.
Is there any more in mind?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got I'll be doing a sequel to the Canoe called Canoe 77, and that's when I'll have the challenge coin for the Canoe. That'll come after Escape from Monster Island, and then after that, I might do. I'm thinking of doing. There was a story I did in Giant Size Two Fisted Manly Tales called Buck Thornton Always Gets His Man. And I'm thinking of doing a book about a buck with and having Kelsey Shannon illustrate it.
Oh.
He's a
Now
science
I know that with some of these, Graham, you're still big screen, by the way, just so you remember. So, right.
Oh yeah, thanks. I always forget about that stuff.
I know everybody wants to see you, but you know.
No, they don't. Thank
They
you.
want to see more bald heads.
Now I know with some of the properties they connect. Obviously, they're in the same.
They all
universe.
connect.
Alien Alamo too.
Yeah.
I thought because that's one I don't have, and that one I thought that was a period piece.
Oh, so do you have Ghost of Matacumba Key?
Yes.
Then when you got to the end, when they went down to Key West, you didn't have a realization of who that was.
No, because I didn't read that book. Yeah.
You need to read Alien Alamo, my friend.
Okay.
Because that's a linchpin book. That one.
Can I get it on this campaign?
No,
Okay.
it's on the web. It's on the website.
Oh, okay.
So Graham, do you use your website, or do you have do you have an eBay store the way Ethan's got a?
No, I have compasscomics.com.
Okay. And do you think there's
Um,
a case for just sticking with your own website, or did it like, not against Ethan? I'm just saying, like, what's the argument for having like is it demand a bigger volume, or
I don't know. I don't know. I just
Like-
you
I'm like
know,
that. I want a rational reason.
yeah. I think it's easy for people if they see a Compass comic, to say, "Well, I wonder if he has a website," and they'll type in Compass Comics, and it'll come
Right.
up.
Right.
If you're looking for, an eBay store, you have to know about it to go to it.
Exactly. Which is the
So,
same thing. Yeah.
and maybe you could do both. Maybe
Yeah,
you could have your website be an informational hub,
Yeah.
and then in there you would have a link to your eBay store. And then that way, you could, cross promote.
Yeah, I mean, this is all very useful because it's kind of like what we were touching on, is that each one of these things is a thing in itself to learn about, keep fed, and update and answer emails. And like for example, I've got an old comic art fans site that I want to update. But it just, they're in the modern ecosystem of all these things with social media and all these different sites. It is when you're on this side of the fence, it's a real thing, isn't it? Like, to deal with all these things. That's why I'm asking about eBay rather than being too over eager. I'm thinking about what makes the most sense, like for selling original art, like commission drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Try and drive traffic to my own site, or put it on somewhere like eBay and auction them, where, or have a reserve bid and all that stuff, which I tried, I don't know, back 20 years ago, and it went okay. I sold a few a bunch of things, but the ecosystem is very different now. But I'm just really trying to kind of recalibrate and go forward and figure out what's the most, in my own situation, most intelligent thing to do, that is the most return for the least effort, because you could be spending all day updating a whole bunch of different sites and things, and you have to go, what's the benefit I'm getting from it? Am I actually selling anything? I mean, I'm already tweeting and Xing. And
well, here's the thing, Paul. I think the biggest thing is your YouTube channel. But that's tricky because, it's like you got to be good at YouTubing, and that's kind of tough. But some people are good at it, some people less good. So it's not an easy thing to learn. But
so you're thinking streaming, like when you say YouTube, you're mostly thinking streaming, right?
Of course, yes, yeah. It's building your audience that way. So the interesting thing is,
that's
I
a great
think
way to build your audience, but you got to give them a place to go to.
Yeah.
But
I think the interesting thing is today, in a way, I believe there's two products now. You have a talk show and a comic book, and there, people see the comic book as the product. But I think, like in the case of Cecil, he is the product. His talk show is the product, and when you buy his comic, you're paying for his talk show, and that's what people are gravitating to. So, with some of us, like say with Ethan or Graham, like you guys have this comic book following in history. You're gonna have more of a comic book audience and that sort of thing. But you're still your show with all these things. You watch monster movies, Monster Month, and all that. That's part of the product too. People, they want those shows. They got to actually buy. They may buy the comic book and then enjoy it, because we'll go away if we have to. If we don't have, people buying the comic book. So that's part of it. When you buy a comic book, you're actually buying a total entertainment package that is, hanging out with people, which is, I love. This is a lot of fun for me. I mean, I never, you can imagine if this was around when we were younger, you could, you could hang out with Alex Toth and talk to him all day.
Oh, absolutely.
Or Bernie Wrightson or Frank Frazetta, or you'd be on these shows. You'd be like, imagine typing in that Frank Frazetta's on the show.
That is a great observation. I have often wondered that kind of thing. Like, what would Alex have done if he was here now? Because he was really shut in, like, we all know, like a recluse. Yeah. And for a lot of reasons, his wife died. And
after his wife died, that's when he went.
And, like, people don't understand that kind of suffering and the kind of mentality you get into. And then he had health problems that I certainly didn't know about. I read the book that Dana, his daughter, published. She crowdfunded Dana Palmer. She crowdfunded a book, and it's about about the latter stages of his life, and his family intervened to actually get him out of his house and into a facility.
What
And-
did he have? Like lung cancer? Or
I'm careful
emphysema?
not. Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I just think he had like
Who's echoing?
somebody's echoing.
I didn't hear it.
I don't know if I'm echoing.
No, I didn't hear it.
I don't remember exactly, but it was basically, I think, from inactivity. He just was not moving around, and he had, I don't know if it was like lower leg gout or problems. I want to be careful what I say because I don't remember that aspect, but it was sufficient that they had to intervene and get him to leave and go into a facility where he was finally. When you read the book, it's he had a kind of a breakthrough or a revelation that people, particularly his family and other people, really cared about him much more than he had probably realized. I think it's something along those lines. And it's a very touching book that she wrote. It's also got an aspect about the healthcare system and some of their interventions that they were kind of combating. But it's a kind of a warning too, like to not get too isolated. So, there's a good side and bad side. But I mean, the good side is he got out, he got help, and it looks like at the end of his life he got kind of more affirmation. Like I think I even read that he hadn't even really realized how much people had cared about him and his work, and that he had actually achieved something, because that's the hard thing to realize, is that everybody's
a lot of these actors and artists, they don't, they'll do this stuff they'll just throw away.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Star Trek guys, I think initially they William Shatner and all, they thought this was just a one and done. They're out of here. And I remember William Shatner telling a story about he was at skiing or something, and everyone's like, there's a Star Trek convention, like, get together. And he's like, what? A Star Trek convention? And that was the first time he heard about this stuff. And now they realize, just when you're young and you're reading this stuff, or you're watching it or reading it, it does affect you, and it is important to you, and maybe there's a moral lesson you even learn from it, like the superheroes and stuff, being a hero, and it's they when they get older, they realize actually that their work was important to people, and that's good to know.
I think it's very much like that. Like I think he was really a real perfectionist. Like in the postcards he wrote me and lots of other people, I remember one clearly. He's saying, like, be a lifelong student, study everything, and that could sound like just glib, kind of like off the cuff, just patter. But I think he really lived it. I really do believe that. And I think he was really hard on himself, and he kept trying to improve. And I think he did through his career. He was experimenting and adjusting and stuff. But,
he would have really benefited from stuff just like this, because
Exactly.
there's not that many of us. So, we can all connect. I mean, I can talk to people. I mean, I had an interview once with Clayton Barton, in Australia. There, he's a comic creator, and it was so funny because this was a recorded interview, right? And so we come on to the the StreamYard system here, and we just start talking right away, and we're like talking. I'm like, we got to push the record button, So we push the record button. We go for probably another hour and a half or something. We finish the record. Close that up. Then we talk for another hour,
Yeah. No, I mean,
before and after. So it's like it's just like because it's such a unique and strange skill. Not a lot of people have it. Boy, you connect with people. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but man, I talk to you, my peers here, and I get fired up to want to do stuff and put it on Twitter and see. You put stuff, you get immediate reaction from fans and readers. It's really cool. I mean, I just love it. So it's way better than it was, frankly.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. And
absolutely, it connects you directly to your customers and to your fan base.
Well, that's what I love about crowdfunding. It's a direct partnership between reader and artist creator, and they come. It's like the reader goes to you and says, "Hey, can you make me this?" And you look and go, "Oh yeah, I can make that. I need money though, So give me the money, I'll make it for you." It's such a there's no middleman. It's a direct. It's very close, and you find out if your story sucks, you'll find that out too.
And you become friends with these people too. I mean, I've had people come up at conventions that introduce themselves by their Twitter name or their nom de guerre, and it's really cool. And I'm like, I say, "Hey, my name's Tom." I'm like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Tom. I'm such and such on Twitter." Oh my God, yeah. And then you hang out at the cigar fest parties, and it's just a great time. I just love it, you know. And then they come back, and I see people in the chat now that I've
Yeah.
met.
Yeah.
And,
Hey, Jimmy's here in the
or,
chat.
hey, Jimmy,
Jimmy
or
Reyes.
names who
Come on in, Jim. Jimmy.
who have you know, back campaigns. You know, it's great.
Yeah, it's like the positive side of this. Like there's the whole flip dark sewer side of X and all the
Oh, yeah.
fighting.
Oh, yeah.
But there's like the positive side. Now, I exactly agree with what you guys are saying. Like I didn't really realize it because on X I had no traction for whatever reason. I guess it's the algorithm. I had very few followers, and since this happened and my Robot Dreams thing, getting a fandom from that and different things, I've got a lot more engagement, and you can communicate with people. It's just been great.
Yeah.
And you stay on the plus side, stay out of arguing with anything. I don't want to be on Twitter having arguments with people. It's boring
Yeah.
and pointless because no one, you know, but it's been really great because it is that direct connection that you crave, it, which is in fact the reason why you create stuff in the first place. You have this vision in your head, you learn the skill of putting it down in images and words or whatever it is, and you give it out to people. You know, and when you learn that it reaches them, it's the greatest thing ever. So yeah, I'm really appreciative of that. And
You know, hit it
Paul,
on the head here. Yeah.
Paul, I know you're creating some videos on how to and stuff like that, as you mentioned the other day on Ethan's show. Now, have you tried a live? Have you tried much live stuff yet?
yeah, that's my next.
Yeah,
It's kind of my
because I'll tell you
next,
what, that is really interesting. Like I did one today, about an hour,
Yeah.
and because I'm working on a Battle Brick Road pinup. Well, it's a big. He's making big pinups, and it was really interesting because I'm just starting to sketch this thing out, and then people ask me questions, and I went off on a tangent, and I was just talking about gesture drawing for most of the hour. I didn't even do my drawing, and it's like, man, that is really, you know, because I know you love teaching. I could see some photos you had of yourself teaching, and when you start teaching directly online with people in real time, it's actually a lot more fun and more helpful, I think, when people can really ask you questions and then you just go boom and answer the questions immediately. Like that's what I say about the internet. It's so immediate. You get
I know.
the stories, you get them more quickly. You get the responses more quickly, and as we get older, as we are, we can teach, which is really satisfying. You know, to be able to pass on the next generation what you know. You know.
So you just use StreamYard for that?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And in fact, it's kind of my stretch goal for myself because all this has been like since January, kind of a real change. You know, it's like learning all these new things. YouTube, I've been making videos, recording them, uploading them. You know, how do you make a thumbnail? All the different things. So that's kind of my next thing. And I 100% agree. Like, I have this feeling like I want to give back. That I think I've learned stuff. And I feel for the person that I was back in 1975 in my little room. I was 16 in Ottawa looking at a few books and my stack of comics and paperback science fiction covers and things, trying to just desperately figure out the craft and what should I do? How do I do this, right? So now there's this availability to communicate directly. And in the middle, for me, in the interim, that's why I always talk about Alex Toth, is because he was very gracious. Like, he wrote me all these postcards back. He wrote all kinds of people. He was encouraging. And it was just the biggest thing ever. Like when you're trying to connect with somebody who you feel really knows what they're doing. I can see that on X or on the internet.
There he is.
Jimmy.
Hey. Jimmy.
Man, congratulations. What does it feel like to have over six-figure campaign?
There you go.
This is a good one.
Jimmy, you look like you're looking at me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta look up.
I'm talking to you, Dan. What does it feel like, Dan? Tell the rest of us.
Yeah, this was a very solid campaign. I'm very happy with it. Here's something interesting, which I didn't realize was available. What happened to my share? I must have.
James just asked me if I might do a cover for Titan. I wish. I don't know. We'll see. It's a little bit of a chance I might, teensy weensy chance I might be blacklisted.
I don't know.
Yeah. This is what they show you under your projects list on your page. That's the total that I've raised so far for the 7 projects, starting with the Chinook.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Nice.
Now, how long did it take to complete those 7 projects? Is that under a year or is that over several years?
That's from 2020.
Wow, man. Almost $1 million.
Yeah. The next campaign, which launches Friday at noon, Joe Frankenstein 3, should push that over, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Now, don't anybody get the idea that I got $1 million.
Yeah.
Because I
That's the thing
don't.
is people don't realize is like you don't really make money, do you, Graham, until you get above 70 or something like 60 or 70, right? That's, I mean, I think isn't that kind of the with all the expenses and printing and shipping and
Well, what you have to bear in mind is those totals that they show you include or before Indiegogo takes their stuff out,
right,
and the credit cards. It's also before the shipping costs, which are enormous.
yeah, which is huge, right?
Yeah, the
Big bite out of
shipping
it right
is your
there.
biggest expense, and of course printing. You know that you should know ahead of time what it's going to cost you once you get your numbers.
So
But
that's
the
a huge, it's a
shipping
huge
is-
chunk out of it, right? So,
Yeah, it's a big chunk, and the rest of it is what's keeping the lights on while you're working on the book to get it
Yeah.
out. You know, I started on my last campaign, Ghost of Metakumbuki, raised 206,000, something like that. It was over $200,000.
Wow.
But that campaign lasted over a year. So that had to keep the lights on and pay all my bills for 12 months. And then I had to pay for shipping, manufacturing of products, printing, all of that stuff. So even though it made more than any other campaign, it wasn't necessarily the biggest profit margin campaign.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question, Graham?
Mhm.
So I had somebody who was recommending, like, say, in a situation where you have a comic, they were saying, well, why don't you go to a publisher, one that wouldn't be anti-CG, like, for example, Phenom Comics. But there must be a rationale economically that why, like, doing it the way you're doing would make far more sense than something like that, which is not against that specific publisher. I don't mean to. I don't mean to sound that way.
Any publisher, Paul, are they going to do it for free?
No, they're going to want to cut, right?
That's right. There's your answer.
So I mean, but this is what I knew that myself, but I'm looking for sort of validation from a base of knowledge that you would have, that, like, because I don't know, for example, that it doesn't matter about that specific publisher, but it's a smaller publisher with I looked up their following is not very big. And again, this is not a diss against them. I'm sure they're fine people. I'm simply saying that they're going to want to cut. I don't even know if they want ownership of some of the property, and I don't know what the exact deal is in terms of a contract. So there must be I'm just interested in the general conversation. Like, clearly crowdfunding's better, even though as you just explained, you don't just get the $1 million and walk off with it.
Right.
You have to, but there must be that it still works out much better than, say, you go to a smaller or medium publisher, say, I'm Graham Nolan, or I'm Jimmy, or I'm Dan, or me, or whatever. And it's like, I've got this property, you put it out, and you entrust them with the marketing. Because
right there. You trust them with the marketing.
I'm not advocating for this. I'm just
nobody's going to love your product more than you, and nobody's going to promote it better than you.
Yeah, I agree.
That is a reality. It means that the work falls upon you, but nobody's going to do it better than you. They're going to give you, 50% maybe if they're really into it. They got other stuff to do. And if your stuff isn't picking up traction, they're moving on to the next one.
Yep.
You will stay like a dog on it till it gets traction.
Yeah.
So there's no reason in today's marketplace with the technology we have and this type of a platform that you should ever take it to somebody else unless they can bring to the table something you cannot do.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now, I would think publishers at this point would be knocking on your door, because when I see that 900,000, that tells me Graham Nolan sells books. I would want to get you on a book if I was a publisher.
Yeah.
Because obviously you've got fan base.
I'm doing my own stuff. I love writing my own stories and drawing my own stuff, doing crazy ideas. Almost every one of my books In fact, every one of my books, I had pitched to other publishers and they all turned it down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
But remember, Jimmy, it's not just like Graham Nolan sells books. It's Ethan Van Sciver sells books. It's John, all this whole network, John Malin, this network of CG people. You get on their shows and they can promote your books, and you get it. You go on a show, you make $10,000 worth of sales on a show. So it's you can't just go to a publisher because they don't have all this network of people who are willing to help each other out.
You don't have,
but to be
help each
fair
other out,
to Graham as well. I mean, Graham himself is selling the book as well. I mean,
absolutely. I'm just saying that I'm saying we all are helping each other out, which is really, really special. And honestly, I've never seen this before.
I was going to say, you won't find outside of CG.
Exactly.
I mean,
There's extraordinary.
There's no other group doing this.
That's why one of the things I love about it is just that, like, it's
other people cut each other's throats in this business. They'll fuck you 2 ways to Sunday, but in this one, we're all in it together, and we're helping each other. We're sharing knowledge. If somebody's got, well, let's say they've got this great idea for a perk level, it's like, oh, I've got to do that. It's like, well, here's how you do it. Here's how you who to call to have that special box made up, or to have that challenge coin made up. Use these guys.
Hey, Christina Lynn, check it out. Christina Lynn is she the editor of Aaron's books, I believe, or?
Christina is my proofreader. She has worked for I think I sent her over to Aaron, and she worked for the Brightwisers company. Yeah, Christina's done a lot of stuff.
Editor or proofreader? What does she?
Well, I use her as a proofreader. I don't know if she maybe Christina, you could chime in if you offer editing services. I'm sure she does.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't have right now. I mean, of course, I'm just building up right now, but that's one thing I'm looking for is an editor at this point.
Yeah.
Because I have the writer I've got, he's great. He's like Rain Man. He can find any typo anywhere in the book. Our last book we did together had 0 typos in the indicia. Anywhere you couldn't find a single typo. He's that good, but we definitely need an editor.
That's worthwhile. Yeah.
It's not just typos. Sometimes it's phrases. Sometimes it's usage of word. Like if you use the word whose and you put in a WHO apostrophe S when what you need is WHOSE.
Yeah.
It's the same word. And one is a possessive and one is whatever the other one is. I don't even know what it's called. But those
nobody cares.
Those the English things that catch you.
Graham, nobody cares about that.
I was going to add in about the whole thing about.
I care.
Yeah.
The whole thing, it is a relief for me to be outside of my, like, I don't have the not interventions, connections and extensive dealings with places like DC or whatever that you guys do, but I did have enough that, I don't miss being under the thumb of somebody that frankly might have been or might not have been okay as a person, but I didn't really respect creatively, but they're an editor or whatever. And I can think of some really good people, but I can think of some people that just forced me to do doofus things. And you have to kowtow to that because that's the paycheck, right? I'm referring to what you just said, Graham, about like, you can just do your own, if you want to do Monster Island comics and do it the way you want, like Roy Crane, no one's going to say, hey, you can't do that. And you proved that it sells, that people like it, and they in fact embrace that freshness instead of the same repeat thing. So I'm just affirming that I don't miss being under the power structure that you used to have to be, which can be good if you're working with somebody really good like Archie Goodwin. I didn't work directly with him, but I met him once, but I've heard so many people say good things about him.
Yeah,
and he was very kind.
That's the guy to discover me at the Motor City Comic Con.
Oh, I didn't know that, Dan. Yeah. I met him once. He was very
nice
kind
guy.
to me.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Yeah. But I mean, when you talk about Alex Toth, like I read, had a really good relationship with Archie Goodwin, but he also obviously had some very bad dealings with people. But there's a lot to be said about that. But when you're not inside and you don't know both sides, but I would say probably part of it is simply that he probably just got fed up. Like he's dealing with people who weren't a creative genius like he was, and he's like, they're telling him to make changes and ordering him around or whatever. It's like they should have just said, just like print it. People will buy it. They'll like it. I was the kid buying all that stuff.
That's probably the state of the whole business.
Toth was a friend, good friends with Joe Kubert for many, many years, and then they had a falling out.
I know this.
Joe was editing a story, and Alex brought it back, and he didn't follow the script. And Joe wanted him to make changes on it, and he wouldn't do it, and it ruined their friendship.
Weren't these guys like Archie Goodwin? Weren't they in the era of Marvel where they got to see it from independent creative to go corporate, where it got bought out by that larger conglomerate company?
New World.
Well, Archie started at Warren.
New World, yeah. Oh, Archie started at Warren?
Yeah, Archie was at Warren Comics. He was writing for Eerie and Creepy. And he wrote for all the great Vampirella stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a story
Archie
that
was. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dan. There's a story, just to finish what Graham was saying. There's a famous story about Toth. I don't know if it's an urban legend. Him having that Joe Kubert story that got rejected in his trunk of his car, that he was so, and it was there for years. I don't know if I'm embellishing the urban legend, but eventually it just disappeared, or he threw it out or tore it up or something. But but I heard that story too in some interview or something, that he had.
I don't know about the car stuff, but the other story I heard directly from Joe.
Yeah.
So
Archie did. He spearheaded, of course, Epic Illustrated, which was the Marvel's answer to Heavy Metal, and he just loved comics as a core because he's looking at all the comics around the world, so he's aware of Mobius and all the Spanish artists and all this stuff, and he's bringing it all in because that's how much he loved comics, and it just showed. And Marvel at that time, I think, had some really good editors that really loved that stuff, loved the whole genre. And that really did affect Marvel positively. And then everything just went to shit.
They were a small group
after they went away.
They were like a small book of creators that were really loving what they were doing.
Oh, they loved comics.
And then now, it's just like it's a company now, and people get hired, and it's just a temporary job for some people, and some people,
and the horrible activism, which is just not a love of comics, it's a love of activism, and it's just that's not good.
I'll tell you what's not a temporary job is this guy.
Oh,
Archie Bear!
but his hairline it's temporary.
Yeah, life is temporary, but not comics. Comics are forever.
They're forever.
Especially Monster Island 2.
How did Monster Island come about, though? I mean, you said you pitched it to a publisher once before?
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, there was a radioactive nuclear bomb accident, and that's
T-Bear set off. Yeah.
I think
yes.
I think I originally pitched Monster Island to DC because I was under contract with them at the time, and then they passed on it, and then I decided this was around 1997, and I didn't like the direction comics were going even then because I found they were getting too violent and overly sexualized, and my daughters were young. And being under contract, DC used to send you everything they published every month. So you'd get this big crate of boxes, of comics and including their hardcover books, everything. And of all that stuff, all I could give to my daughters were like the Warner Brothers things. They were publishing Bugs Bunny and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The Batman animated books. There's like one or two other things, but I couldn't give them any of the comics that my mom was able to give to me by going up to the 7-Eleven.
There you go.
Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Fantastic Four, whatever. Because I just felt that even my own book on Detective Comics, I felt like it was a little too much for them. And so I wanted to write and illustrate a comic for them that they could enjoy, a high adventure comic that wasn't written for kids, because that's all ages is a pejorative term. It usually means you're talking down to your reader.
Yeah.
But in fact,
like that.
Yeah. As soon as a kid sees that, they think this is written for kids. I don't want that because they want to upgrade. Right. And so I wanted to do something like the original great newspaper strips were, where everybody read them. They read, Prince Valiant and Flash Gordon and Terry and the
Wow.
Pirates and Buzz Sawyer and those kind of things. Kids and adults could read that stuff and enjoy it at various complex levels.
Yeah.
And so that's what I decided to do. I loved monsters. I loved Buzz Sawyer and aviation. And I decided, well, why don't I write something about those three things? And that's where I came up. And I love Godzilla movies too. So I came up with the Monster Island.
And
So-
Graham really likes. He doesn't wear it on his sleeve, but like volcanic islands. He just
He's Vulcan.
studies them. Yeah.
He likes
Volcanic islands give me
radioactivity.
boners.
So, Graham, so what happened from
No.
when you pitched in the 90s, and I'm assuming they obviously they passed on it, till now? Did it just sit, or did you have to go back and revamp it, and did it change at all?
No, I published it in 1998. That's when I started
Oh.
Compass Comics.
So you published it on your own?
Yeah.
Independently? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I independently published it. I distributed it through Diamond. And, timing is everything. And in 1998, the market was crashing, especially if you were independent. But it was crashing for Marvel and DC. The speculator dollars were gone, and real numbers were starting to come in. So it didn't do really well. It made enough to pay for my publishing, but it wasn't enough to pay me for the months it took me to create this thing. That I lived on Bane royalties, which we blew through just so that I could do that. So it wasn't an equitable trade-off at the time. But what you do is, it's the kind of thing that lays the groundwork for the future.
Yeah.
Because a couple years later, when I was getting out of comics, I reformatted Monster Island as a adventure newspaper strip and sent it out to all the what do they call the
Publication.
syndicates. And the syndicates all turned it down. They said, we haven't sold an adventure strip in 30, 40 years. There's just no market for it. However, we really like what you did here. We have a strip that we need an artist on. Would you be interested? And it was Rex Morgan, MD. So work was drying up in comic books, and I got into the syndicated comic strips and ended up doing Rex Morgan, MD and the Phantom for, like 13 years. While I rode out the wave in comics, and eventually started coming back in, getting more freelance jobs, and finding out the market had changed completely, and comics were starting to really, really do bad. So I started trying to do independent stuff where I wrote and illustrated my own works. I crowdfunded the first Joe Frankenstein on Kickstarter in 2015. So that's how far back my crowdfunding goes. That was a disaster. And then I did. I sold one of my stories to Aftershock, the Girls of Dimension 13 that Brett Blevins illustrated, and that was like a
wow.
5-issue series.
Mark Martins or Matt? It was Marks, the guys from
Mike Martz.
Mike
Yeah,
Martz,
Mike
yeah,
Martz,
from
yeah.
X-Men editor.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and
And
former
Joe.
Batman editor. So he bought
Yeah.
that turned out great. And I offered Alien Alamo and the Chinook to them after that, and they turned it down.
Uh-huh.
And then I got offered The Expendables Go to Hell with Chuck, and I saw how your boy Zach crowdfunded. I was like, you know what? I got to give this crowdfunding another shot here, because I think I see the light.
Yeah.
I can see the mistakes I made in 2015 and the mistakes that Ominous Press made when they reprinted Monster Island. Oh, hey, Shanth, how you doing?
Great to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for dropping
Huh?
in. I'm
Oh,
giving my
yeah, I
life
had to.
history here.
That's right.
Yeah. So if I woke you up,
That's fine. Go ahead.
I got it. There's a question here in the chat though. It sounds made up, but Art, did you eat a cosmic burrito or I don't know.
Cosmic burrito. I don't know.
Somebody has a question or something like that. Statement.
You
I
interrupted
think it
for that,
doesn't
Dan?
sound true. It sounds made up.
I like burritos.
yeah. So basically,
Graham, how you were talking about like the comic books, I would get those DC comps as well. And I remember my daughter was young, and she's like, I want to do it like a little yard sale, or like, on the driveway or whatever, make some money. She's just a little kid, and so she's going through all her little stuff, and she's going, what about all these comic books? I go, okay, but you can't. I'll go through them, right? You can't just sell these comic books. So I went through them, and I got a short stack out of like many. And so I said, you could sell these. Well, somehow the good ones weren't the only ones that were sold. There was other books that were in that mix. And so, she sold them, she made her money, whatever, didn't think any more of it. Then a neighbor, they were going on vacation or something like that. So they said, could you house sit? And they had a dog and all that stuff. So we had keys to their house. So we went in there, and for some reason, you always do this. You go into the rooms and you check their what are those closets that you have in the bathroom where you have
medicine
cabinets and all that. You just go
in between the bed mattresses and stuff.
Yeah, you just
see what's secrets.
Wait a minute, you do this?
And so I went into the boys' room, the older boy, and there's these comic books, but they're the comics I didn't want my daughter to sell, and I'm like, oh shit. So now there's a moral dilemma. I don't want his parents to see these because there's a chance they still have it, because I think it was earlier that day. It was like the timeline was real, like connected.
So he bought them from you?
He bought them from my daughter.
Oh, from your daughter. Okay.
At the little drive, the little yard sale thing. So then I'm like,
what was wrong with the comics?
Yeah.
They were DC like Vertigo books, and they were like some really racy stuff. And some of them were like
the stuff that I would read.
Like
Stuff I make.
I think like Batgirl, like Gail Simone's Batgirl, like she was. Batgirl would get beat up every issue, like she was all bloodied and everything. And so one of the covers was like Batgirl bloodied and stuff. And so I was like, what do I do? Do I steal these books? Do I take these with this kid? And I did. I stole them.
Oh, really?
This is why we knew. I knew the story was going there, Art.
This is why he left California. He was forced out. Neighbors with pitchforks wanting their property back.
Did you do the Spider-Man thing, steal the thing, but leave the money attached to a web or something? Like
I think what we did is,
with a note.
Or did you resell them to the same kid?
They were gone for days, so I found like 3, appropriate books, and I brought them in, and I kind of placed them in the same place. And he probably knew better, so he didn't say anything to his phone. Because he probably knew that they weren't books that he was supposed to be reading. So it all kind of worked out. But it was one of those things, like, I never knew, like, because there was never any mention of it afterwards. But it is one of those things, Graham, like that you feel awkward about it. Like these comic books you don't even want like kids to read. And that's not a cool place to be.
I mean, I comics is a medium and an art form, and as such, there's nothing that's off limits. Where I draw the line is these basically long underwear stories, these superhero stories, which are meant for kids, trying to be something that they're not. If you want to do a real life adult superhero comic, have at it, but leave Superman alone.
Well, you do it as an Elseworlds. I mean, they've always told those stories. You like Frank Miller's Year One and Batman Returns and Watchmen and stuff like that. Those are one and dones, and you can keep those away from the kids.
Yeah.
But like your main universe, like your Marvel universe, your DC universe, you leave those relatively kid friendly. But like even in the New 52, I don't know if you're working at DC when they had that whole campaign going. They pretty much were saying they've given up on kids. Like these are comics for adult readers.
Yeah.
So they were like going to placate adult readers. So they were definitely more edgy and stuff like that. But the thing is, what I was realizing is like there's adult and then there's just gratuitous. They're not always the same. They're not always, just because you have blood and sex and whatever, that doesn't mean it's more adult. It just means it's more gratuitous.
Well, Casablanca is a story about unrequited love, Nazism, world domination. There's nothing gratuitous in it. A kid could watch it. Citizen Kane, a great film about power and corruption. A kid could watch that. Very adult film. It doesn't have to. It just means it has to be intelligent. It doesn't have to. Gratuitous doesn't make it adult.
Yeah.
Right.
These commercials for gaming games, and it's like rated mature. And I watched the commercial. I'm like, that's the most immature shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's because they consider gore and sexuality to be.
They don't use
it's like,
suggestion.
I remember when RoboCop came out, and it's like, oh, this is so like adult, whatever. And it's like, it's just a cartoon. It's a comic book that has a bunch of violence in it.
Iron Man with guns. Iron Man Punisher.
I love that movie. Though.
Well, although I mean, my book I'm doing with Dragon Rage, it's a very in-depth story, but I'm doing it in the style of fantasy that I enjoyed. With Conan, there's always the topless women.
Sure.
Elric, there was always slight nudity, but there's no real sex in it. And so that's the style. And Dan, I think you've been in some of the books that I've been into, so I think you might know some of the titles.
Well,
I'm
walk into
referring
any
to.
art museum, there's naked ladies. I mean,
Yeah. So for me, I don't consider
Where's
it.
this museum? Oh, no.
So for me, that's the
Metropolitan Museum of Playboy. Yeah.
But it brings up a really good topic. Like when Art was talking about the 52. At the time, I know that right now, comics, we should be marketing comics, making comics for children, getting them into comics because they're going to be the future of the industry. But to survive right now, it's only adults buying. So I'm geared. When I decided my first crowdfunding, I'm going to gear it towards more adult who's buying right now.
The crowdfunding community is probably not any kids hardly. So yeah.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
okay.
You have a credit card.
There's always been adult comic books, so there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
It's just like Batman, Spider-Man is only going to appeal to children. I mean, we grew up with those things. We love those things, so that's why we like them now. But I don't think any adult is like just out of the blue going, I'm going to go read a Spider-Man comic. I think it's something that it would appeal to a kid. Just the name
to grow into it.
Yeah. And you grow up.
Absolutely. Like the first book I did, the Chinook, solid rated R horror. I mean, there's gore in that. Guys' heads are getting ripped off, flesh is flying, and all that kind of shit.
Wow.
I love that. It's fun, but I don't want to see Spider-Man, fighting a guy and having a guy's head go off like that. The Green Goblin's head get torn off or anything like that. And yet, that's the kind of stuff they show, that similar type of violence and stuff, and to what Paul loves, Alex Toth, and Alex Toth used to talk about the difference between violence and action, and in our comics, the comics we read as children, were full of action because that's what grabbed us. It was exciting. But it wasn't violence in the truest sense. Sure, Batman would punch a guy and he'd go flying through a wall and all stuff, but it wasn't a close-up of the guy's nose turning into mush and cartilage and shit flying out.
It wasn't the Joker shooting Barbara Gordon point blank.
That's right, and then taking her clothes off.
Graham, what I'd say is the violence in those older comics was suggested, and it was a means to an end. And what was the end? The end was the defense of the good, the true, the noble, the heroic, the right, the godly, whatever. So the violence was only necessary. It wasn't reveling in the actual sensation and fixating the audience, being kids, on, just going right into that as the main subject matter. So it was that's a crucial difference. Like, if the violence is used in the defense of the good and as a last resort, those kind of qualities were imbued in all those older comics. I certainly gleaned that, like I'm sure all of you did, when I was a little boy reading everything from, the DC comics to Batman to Jack Kirby and even the Fantastic Four, things like that. They was never gratuitous over the top. It was always like, we have a goal and we have a mission, and it's to defend good. Now that's all been completely subverted. You had the rise of the anti-heroes in the 70s in movies, right?
Well, now, last night on the professionals, we were talking about humor in comics and stuff like that, And one of the things that I posted was this humorous scene in Thor. It was the first part of the Ragnarok story where Thor encounters these hippies. He's looking for Loki, and these hippies are like, "Oh man, we don't dig your scene. We tuned in and dropped out and all that kind of stuff." It's all that funny, 60s dialogue. But what Thor does is he educates these kids and he tells them, there are battles to be won in life. There are causes to espouse, that kind of stuff. There's plenty of time to drop out when Hela comes and claims you in death. But until then, if you want to, hold the mantle of man and greatness, thou must fight on, that type of thing, and then he leaves them in the dust. Love that scene. It's so powerful and great,
Were these stories more like fables, like they had a life lesson or message behind the story, or?
It was just a scene in a comic that had nothing to do with that, other than the fact that Thor encounters these characters who he disagrees with.
Comic books back, in the all action adventure and stuff like that. It was always kind of a moral tell. I mean, if you were doing it well, It didn't feel heavy handed.
Yeah.
But it was always a G versus E. And whenever you get into a G versus E type of situation, you're always dealing with some kind of morality,
Well, hero was the concept of the hero, self-sacrificing, if you get religious, self-sacrificing love of Christ, it's the giving up of your life for someone you don't even know. And
right.
I think that's
that's what Superman did, right? Like Superman had ultimate power, but he used it as an alien arriving on Earth to defend good. He chose good.
Yep.
Exactly.
He didn't just go and make himself a dictator,
There we go.
Right.
Yeah, maybe should have.
His upbringing.
Yeah, maybe he should have.
Yeah, we could use him now.
Yeah.
He was killed.
Now all he
That
does is put on his boots in slow motion while he's watching, the city in the background getting vaporized by some kind of alien invasion.
Oh,
If you knew the kind of morning he was having, Art, you'd understand.
Version.
They serve them the wrong latte.
That's right. Jimmy, you killed me, man. When you show Monster Island.
Hey, I know you guys are like me. All I could think of is Christopher Reeves in that first movie where he's running down the alley and he just rips open the shirt and he takes off.
And that music, the music build.
Right. I'm thinking that, and while I'm looking at this James Gunn teaser for the new movie, and I'm like, what are you teasing, dude? This is a guy back.
How is it they knew back then? They were dialed in. I mean, you just had to open a comic book and you knew what the whole feel of the whole thing was. Just do that. And they did that. And what's amazing to me is just how the special effects in that time they look almost cooler than the special effects today, even though they're so limited in their technology.
Because they're more practical, because they're still dealing with some kind of gravity.
The helicopter scenes.
Wait, what do you mean?
You know what, though? When you're a young person, you don't care.
When he grabs it and his elbow is hyperextended and he's flying.
That hurts.
Well,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think, we liked, Ultraman with the zip. You could see the zipper in his back, I didn't care, or Godzilla, whatever. Well, that's the guy's wearing outfits. You don't care.
I always wanted to be Godzilla. I wanted to be that guy in the suit that destroyed that miniature. That's what I wanted more than
You just wanted to be stomping on the Japanese community.
Not the Japanese, but the Japanese miniatures.
You could go to a beach.
I'll tell you a funny Godzilla story. One Saturday morning, they were doing this double feature, these two Godzilla movies, and my brother and I are like, oh yeah, we can't wait to watch this. My parents come down, so we're going over to Nana and Pop-Pop's house. We're like, oh no, but this Godzilla thing, double features on. And they said, well, why don't you ask Pop-Pop's if you can watch it at his house, So I go over there. My grandfather was a former chief of police and World War I veteran who fought in France, right? So he knows nothing about Godzilla in these dopey kids movies, right? But he loves his grandkids, and so we said, Pop-Pops, can we watch these movies? And he goes, oh yeah, sure. So he had this like Barco lounger chair and it was sitting right by the TV and he had his legs up, belly sticking out. And my brother and I start watching this thing. We're like, oh yes, we can watch it. And for the next 3 hours, all he did was badmouth it while we're trying to watch it. He's like, he goes, "What is this? Oh, that is so fake. That is so terrible." What? And we're like, "I'm trying to watch some more."
Yeah.
He's like those two.
He probably had a better time than you guys watching it.
Oh yeah,
He definitely did. Because we were pissed.
Well, I think your imagination, when you're a kid, your imagination completes the rest of it. You kind of
suspend the disbelief.
You kind of think, what would that look like, and you can kind of fix it in your head.
Well, my parents are always like, we watched hours of that Adam West Batman show, and he's like, you loved it. We never could figure out why. And the thing is, when you're like 6 or 7 or whatever, it's real to you. They can see the camp, like the adult can see the camp. But you can't. It's kind of like what you're saying, Dan, with the zipper. You can't see the zipper. You just see the big picture, right? And that was the way with, like, I don't know, like the Adam West Batman. It was real.
I was exactly like your grandfather when I watched The Notebook with my wife.
That's so fake.
I badmouthed the whole thing.
I did that too, actually.
Love's not real.
I had that moment.
Hey, Art, what I think we should do is get your Godzilla outfit and then go to the beach and stomp on the kids' sandcastles, And
just go in there.
I have to dress up for that. I'll just do it.
Good stuff, man. Making Godzilla noises.
Hey, Godzilla, I'm RT Bear.
Yeah. Actually, they'd probably love you if you did it. They'd like, come on, destroy my castle.
I don't know if I could step on any of those miniatures, man. Those
It'd
are
be
so
like
beautiful.
Oh, God.
It'd probably hurt.
So, Graham,
man,
as a
so
big
great.
fan of monster movies, what did you think of, or have you seen Godzilla -1?
Oh,
What'd
saw
you think
it.
of it? What'd you think?
I thought it was great because it focused on the people.
Yeah.
Godzilla was the background. He was the catalyst of the narrative, but he was still the background character. It was really about the Japanese guy and his shame and overcoming that under the umbrella of this horror that was surrounding him, and the horror being the monster and the ravages of the war. Just amazing. I thought it was amazingly, for a giant monster movie, it was like the Citizen Kane of giant monster movies.
You know what was great about that too is because the budget on that movie, I mean, it was really kind of a nice wake-up call for Hollywood, because that movie doesn't seem like it's cheapening out. It doesn't feel like it's low budget or anything like that. But yet it was a reasonably priced movie, and people enjoyed the hell out of it. And I think like Hollywood just needs to wake up, because these budgets on these movies are so bloated. And if you could make a Godzilla film for half of what a Marvel movie is, or
American actors are making 100 times more than the Chinese actors in that movie. I mean,
but it just goes to show you don't need them. You don't need big name actors either.
Didn't they make that for under $20 million?
I think it was really reasonable. I don't know about 20 million, but it was.
45, I thought it was. But
Was it 45? Okay. 45, and like the latest Marvel movie was like 300.
Yeah,
pushing that.
And so how many tickets do you got to sell to break even for that shit? And
you have to, those movies, they have to make $1 billion to
marketing and
make money. Yeah, because marketing and everything. Yeah.
Have you guys
Graham,
seen
have you seen the new one then?
version of it?
What, Shan?
The one with the.
Oh, have you guys seen the
new one
black
then?
and white version?
Hold on. Shan was saying something.
So, yeah, there's a black and white version they released, and I just got the Japanese Blu-ray, and it's they did Godzilla -1 minus color.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
And they color, like the director, who was also the special effects guy, which is how they kept the cost down. He didn't just make it black and white; they like color timed it. And Graham, I'm telling you, it's like it's the most incredible thing. And I showed it to my wife, and she stayed with me. It was great. It was fine. But I showed my wife the movie. I go, you need to watch some Godzilla.
So he
and she
made
goes,
it look like it was shot in black and white, as opposed to just removing color from it. Oh, wow.
And it is, my wife goes, the black and white version is what I want to watch. She's like, that looks incredible. So if you haven't seen it in black and white when it comes out here, because the Japanese Blu-rays I got don't have English subtitles. Unfortunately, they didn't because they're thinking smart. Sell it
They're
twice.
different region too. They may not play on
No,
US.
they're saying Blu-ray. Thank God, as Japan.
Oh.
So they're what are we?
Region 1, Region 2.
Yeah,
I think?
Region 1 and we're Region 1, but
Yeah.
there was no subtitles. But what's crazy is too, with all of this stuff, when I look at your stuff, Graham, and I was thinking about this when you were showing Monster Island, is that not only are you creating all of this stuff, but your characters feel like they just feel like they're on model, and you're making the model of the characters. And this buddy of mine who's in animation, or has worked in animation, named Rocky Ballesteros, he sent me something, and I shared the screen for it. And I wanted to know, Graham, did you guys ever see this? Because I never saw this when I was coming up, but they're reprinting it. This company that does standards and practices guides.
Okay.
It's the DC Comics 1982. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
It's
the style guide?
Yeah, they're reprinting it.
Yeah.
And I had never seen it.
Oh.
And I have the window shared if you haven't seen it yet, down there at the Chrome tab.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah.
And I've never seen this thing before, but they're doing a brand new reprinting, photographed from the original guide.
Yeah.
And what was so odd is that things like this are $90 collector's items now. So maybe there's a return to this.
Oh, is that John Byrne right there?
No, it's all Garcia Lopez and Dick Giordano.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I saw the originals up at DC.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
They had these things and they'd make copies for you if you needed turnarounds and stuff, but this was primarily used for licensing.
Wow.
Yeah, I have that book, the actual folder with, because they're like clip-in, like a
they're ring binders. Yeah,
ring binder. Yeah, and I looked for it real quick. It must be in the other room, but I was just at DC Comics. I was admiring it, and then Mike Carlin just goes, "Yeah, you can have that," and I was like, "Yeah,
you got plenty of them."
Eh,
That's awesome.
it's fantastic. It is.
I've never seen it before. I missed that whole thing. So my buddy was telling me about it because he, of course, excitedly ordered it. And I go, I bet I know a few people who've got copies or have seen many copies of this.
Yeah, there was talk for years, like, why don't they do another style guide like this? But the thing is, the costumes change so much, like new stuff. Like, you can't really do anything like this. So this was once in a lifetime kind of thing. I thought it was pretty cool that DC, because that must have cost like thousands and thousands of dollars to get Garcia Lopez to draw all this stuff.
Yeah, but when a manufacturer came to DC and say, "Yeah, we want to do T-shirts of Superman," then they had all these designs ready to go.
Right.
Exactly. Or we need under rouge, and they're going to make a print of the faces or something like that. Bam, we are ready to go. They had all that stuff. So it was money in the bank, really, because this is the kind of shit that was all over everything: posters, T-shirts, under rouge, pajamas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I wanted under rouge so bad, but my wife told me no.
Yeah, I can't do it.
Said I'm too big. Well,
Hey, is that how they survived?
Jimmy was married for 5 years when that conversation happened.
That's right.
Do you think that, you guys? Do you think this is how they've survived and how they continue to survive with merchandising?
Oh yeah, I remember getting hired at DC, and they said the comics aren't the thing that make the money. It's all the licensing and that makes the money for Warner Brothers. It's not the publishing of the DC heroes. So
Right.
it was always that way until the 90s. The 90s kind of changed things, and actually when they did that Robin thing where they killed Robin, and then when they killed Superman, it scared the Warner Brothers execs, because now they didn't have their tax deduction anymore. Those books were selling millions of copies. They were showing profit.
Oh,
Yeah, Warner Brothers couldn't use them as a tax deduction anymore. So
that's funny.
yeah,
That makes sense, though.
yeah.
how many pages is Return to Monster Island?
Return to Monster Island.
I said Monster Island. I meant Monster.
I think it's
I grew up with the Monsters. That's why.
I want to say it's 90 something.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to see if I wrote it
I
somewhere.
got those covers. Those are awesome.
Which one? The, oh, the
Those.
frame?
Yes, dude, that's right up my alley. I saw it. I loved it.
Oh,
like, I
very
gotta get-
cool. Very cool. Yeah, and this is actually the original 1998 cover.
Oh wow.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, look at the price, $3.95.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
This is, this is hand separated. I mean, it
No.
was, now for the modern version, where is it? This one here. It's the same artwork, but I had Greg Wright recolor it.
So cool.
Oh,
So
let me see the original again. Gosh, it looks so different.
Yeah, here's the original.
He's doing a lot for CG, right? Greg Wright, isn't he the one that colored?
Oh wow, what a
Shane's book?
difference!
No, Greg doesn't do a lot for CG.
Oh, there's another
I
Wright
really like the new
guy
one.
that colors.
Yeah, the new one
no,
looks
like-
great. It really cleaned
It
up.
just
now.
comes alive, and the color
sky,
color palette
mhm.
is really wonderful.
Yeah.
It's clear and easy to see. I mean, it's really good. It enhances the composition you got. It's great.
Over here is the those challenge coins for people that were asking about those.
I'm so jealous of those things. They came out so good. They look bad.
Yeah, I just finished the and ordered the. Here we go. Here's a challenge coin.
Wait, is it when you saying challenge coin? I'm wondering if it's the same game we used to play when I was kids. We'd take pennies and we would slide them on the floor to who would get to the baseboard of the wall. Whoever would get closest to the wall would win the other person's penny.
No. Now,
No?
challenge coins started in the military. They were given out for various groups, units, that type of stuff. And in bars, you throw a challenge coin down, and if you didn't have one to back it, you had to buy the round for the group. So, that's
And
what these are.
how did they get challenge coins in the military?
The units would manufacture them, have printers make them, type of thing.
Oh, so every time you went to the bar, if somebody was going to challenge you with it, you had to make sure you had yours.
You had to have your challenge coin with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the U.S. dollar collapses, then this could be used as currency. Then
Yeah. Fuck Krugerrands. I got a Monster Island, man.
this will hold its
That's right.
value too. It'll be like, oh, you got an original Monster Island challenge coin. That's worth a lot.
And I can still play my childhood game.
In my portfolio, I have gold, I have silver, I have a challenge coin.
Ooh.
Perfect. That's a good balanced portfolio.
So once Biden tanks the economy, I'll have my challenge coin and
right.
I'll be okay.
You just go to the store, plop down a challenge coin, get your 6-pack of beer.
Because that's going to be my main concern when the world ends. Is like I got to get my 6-pack of Bud Light.
Yeah.
But wait, no, Bud Light.
Oh,
No,
but yeah. The main cover is a wraparound, by the way.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah, for
Nice.
Monster Island. So that's the full cover right there, colored by Greg.
Is that more difficult or even expensive to get, or does it matter
What do you mean?
to wrap around? Is there anything?
like how you lay it out for the printer?
Does it really make any difference in price or anything to
No.
wrap around? Okay.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
No,
because you're still doing the same. If you're doing a cover, it's in essence a wraparound, no matter what the way the layout is, right?
Yeah, there's got to be something on the back cover.
Right.
So
okay.
usually on my books, it's this.
Right.
That's right.
So I have that on all my back covers. But so for a wraparound, it doesn't cost any more to do it.
Yeah, when I go camping, I take a compass comic with me so that I don't get lost.
That's right.
That's right. You'll never get lost reading comics if it's.
That's what you need, a real compass on the back of it, like
Yeah.
that attaches to
Well,
it.
you know what? All Compass Comics books point due north,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what.
No matter what.
That's right.
Hey, if you guys like shirts, order these shirts right now because I'm putting the order in tomorrow. We need to. I need to get those in and start getting those manufactured. Yeah, here's
Get
some.
get them without the sleeves so you can show off your guns.
Yeah, guns out.
Yeah, Dennis Turner would like those.
Sun's out, guns out. Yeah.
That's it. So here's some interior pages for the book. The first 8 pages. As I mentioned, the original Monster Island was done in black and white in duo shade. Duo shade doesn't exist anymore. So when I did Return to Monster Island, I had to manufacture gray tones in Photoshop. And so because it takes place right after the last page is how the story starts. And then we transition to color, and the color change is the transition to today, which is like 2 years later. And now we find our characters, Mac and Duke, sitting on the beach, discussing their relationship, which hasn't been going too well, according to Mac. She's pissed off. He's not too responsive, and she's really pissed off. We've all been.
And then he was found unresponsive.
Yeah, we've all been there. We've all seen this look, right?
I like the seagull running away with some stash. He's got like their leftover fries or something.
Yeah, he's got.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Does this look familiar, Jimmy? Oh wait, no, you're from you're from Texas. This probably look more familiar to Art. This is Coronado.
SoCal? Oh no, Coronado. Okay.
Yeah.
I love you have the color change in the water.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it looks good.
Coastal water versus the.
This is one of the problems I had when I did the sequel. Is when I originally wrote Monster Island, the Navy interceptor plane was the F-14 Tomcat, and it was a 2-seater. You had a pilot and a RIO, radar intercept officer, which is perfect. So my 2 characters could crash on the island and be together. Well, the Navy changed it to the F-18 Super Hornet, which was a single-seater. And in the story, I had to get the 2 of them back on the island together. So I had to do some research, and I found out that there is a modified F-18 called a Growler, which is a radar intercept plane, or it's a radar jamming plane. And so I had them, kind of demoted into that during a combat scene with the other F-18s, and they ended up crashing on the island for Return to Monster Island, and the Russians get trapped there too. So that's when all the conflict starts, when they're on the
kind
island.
of like Top Gun 1 and Top Gun Maverick, where they had a
exactly. Exactly. That's what they flew the Tomcats back then too. So let's do a refresh, see if we got any new backers here while we're rolling along. Come on, boy. All right, Timpani. What are we at? 121. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, good.
There it is.
Nice. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated. Look at 1,523 backers.
Excellent.
Great. We'll be fulfilling these.
Keep it rolling. I need to see 2-2. Let's see a 1-2-2 there.
1-2-2. We're staying live until we hit 1-2-2.
Art
So
likes
none of you
tutus.
can go to bed in the chat until we do that.
I do like 2-2s, but not on men's.
Hey, Graham, speaking of bowing out, I got to take off, but
Oh, okay. Hey,
Yeah.
Paul.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for coming in, bud.
See you, Paul.
thank you. Thank you
Great
for
to see
having
you.
me, and congratulations. It's looking great. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
okay.
You'll be up here soon enough.
Oh yeah.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. You will.
And
Have a good night, Paul.
Okay. Bye, guys.
care.
Bye,
Bye,
Paul.
everybody. Bye.
I'm going to have Paul on my channel just so I can get some quality time. I always feel like I just want to talk to the guy, but in these kind of things, it's a little hard. There's so much going on.
Right. Yeah. Well, he was on earlier with just Andy, and then Andy left, and Dan came in, or just around the same time, and so there was just the 3 of us for a little bit. And Paul was asking a lot of questions about crowdfunding. He has a lot of there's a lot to know to set up these campaigns.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of hard work. He just can't throw one up in a day.
I think what Art was saying is that he doesn't like that we're cock blocking him. You got to
think he
man
put
up,
it
Art.
that way.
Ask him out on the date.
Was that it, Art?
Jimmy just made my list. You moved. You were maybe the 30th. Now you're right on the top, right there.
Oh dear.
Jimmy Reyes.
dear.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it.
Art's going to break into my house and steal my comics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you least expect it. Yeah.
So Graham, I had to ask, what is your favorite era for monsters, what would you say it is? Is it like the 50s?
50s.
Is it the 30s?
Yeah.
50s.
Yeah.
Because that's what I love about this.
Yeah, you can see in the design.
50 sci-fi is my favorite, but monsters is golden age 30s. You know, the Frankenstein's my favorite. Has always been my favorite. 1931 James Whale film. It's always been my favorite.
You know what? For me, I love robots. So like black and white is a lot of robot action, but I like vintage, like nuts and bolts, like robots, like those old designs.
Yeah.
You know, from like the 50s and 60s. So what I'm trying to do, but I also like the Transformer types, you know, that kind of manga and Japanese influence stuff. So I'm kind of trying to do like this hybrid, you know, of the two. So like classic design, but with like more like high tech, you know, Japanese flair. So I'm the same way. Like, but you know, I like you like what you like, you know, and then you try to incorporate that into your work, and then you just hope that everybody else will like what you're doing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, a lot of people don't dig that kind of stuff. You know, they say, oh, it's old fashioned and everything, but some of the stories are so great, you know. When they remade The Day the Earth Stood Still with Keanu Reeves, it was like, oh, geez, what the hell is this shit? I was hoping that they would like use modern special effects to create Gort, the robot, you know, with the visor, and have him be cooler looking than, you know, that guy in the rubber suit. That would have been so much cooler than this cloud and space shit that they did in that movie.
I do love Gort though. I still love Gort, you know, like the
original Gort.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, my favorite monster time period. This is how out of whack I am. I like the Hammer horror, Jack Asher cinematography, right?
Yeah.
The beautiful color palettes, right? But then I also like movies like the silent film era. So Der Golem and Nosferatu. Yeah. I mean, I love it all. Let's be clear. I'm equal opportunity. You know,
even like Phantom of the Opera was silent. That Lon Chaney, that thing is.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And then you find out that guy did his own stunts too.
Yeah.
There's that one scene where he's on this how old this movie is. He's on a stagecoach and there's like these horses and he's on the top of it. He's whipping, those things are moving like breakneck speed, like, and then it flips over and you see it's Lon Chaney, like he just gets catapulted off that thing, and it's wow, this shit is visceral because it's all in camera, it's all real, man.
That's the coolest thing about silent movies is that those guys did that stuff. When you see Buster Keaton running down the hill with those boulders chasing after him, and he's jumping and flipping and rolling, and there was no second take for that stuff. What's it, Harold Lloyd? You know, some of the stuff he did. Now there's some magic to it too. You know, like where he's hanging from the clock. It's an angle that makes it look like he's up there, and he is up there, but there's a platform underneath him. You know, as a safety net. And there was one where I saw the special effects for Charlie Chaplin where he was on roller skates and it kept skating backwards and it was like a drop off.
Yeah.
You know? And he kept coming up to the edge and never went off. But, you know, it was the way the camera was set up and the f-stop or something, you know, the foreground and background pushed things together. So there really wasn't a hole there. The hole was like 6 feet behind him, you know, so he was never in danger of going over.
The camera doesn't see depth. So
it's so cool how they did that, you know?
Hey, back on what you said earlier, Graham, I thought about this a lot because there's classic films I absolutely love. Like there's actors, there's writing, there's situations, and you know that modern Hollywood would just F it up. They recast it. They would suck at the writing, and there's like a certain, we've talked about it on the professionals, like there's a tone, like it wasn't ironic, like everything's ironic now. So like in the day, it's like there would be humor, but it would come out of situation, come out of character, but the characters never broke character. It was never a joke. It was never a gag. It was real to them. Like even the Three Stooges, that's not silly to them. That's real. When they're hitting each other and all that shit, they're not laughing. They're not smiling. It's all happening. So like there's this movie, I always say Big Trouble in Little China, special effects whatever. But I would love somebody just to put money in it and just redo the special effects. Keep all the performances the same, all the actors, everything identical. Just digitally update the movie. And I still haven't really seen, I mean, like Lucas redid the original, like the 3 Star Wars, but not like that. Like I don't know.
Yeah, wouldn't it be an interesting experiment to see an updated movie with the exact same script? I mean, you never really see that, do you? When they redo
the same performances. I'm talking about like if
I'm saying, what if they never change the script at all? Just like
shoot it from that original script.
Yeah, just have people say the same lines.
Remake of Psycho.
Oh God.
Yeah, and they did it shot for shot too.
But the thing is, like, to answer that question, Dan, I don't think there's directors and I don't think there's actors that understand the tone of some of those films. Like everybody that makes films now, like even in like the Marvel movies, it's ironic. Like they have to make fun of whatever it is so that the reader will go, oh yeah, that's silly or that's dumb, right?
It's ironic, but it's also self-aware. And that's the problem. Is that those characters are self-aware.
Yes. When Christopher Reeves played Clark Kent in Superman, he was sincere, man. Yeah. Even when Adam West played Batman, that dude was sincere. Like that dude was, and he was that character. He was in that performance. That shit was real.
I like the remake that they did when they remade King Kong in the 70s with Jeff Bridges. Like I thought that was a good update. You know.
Giant robot with the
that was terrible.
You didn't like that? I mean, that's obvious when the hand comes in and he picks her up out of the water.
Look, listen,
but
you know, the best thing about that was Jessica Lange's legs.
Thank you. No, let me tell you
maybe
the best
it's just Jessica Lange
about that movie.
Jessica Lange taking a shower.
This is the best thing ever. So here's my wife's name is Lauren. Her parents named her after Lauren Bacall and got to tell Lauren Bacall this at a theater production she was doing. And then she came early. She was premature, and she was premature because her mother was cramming into the back of a small compact car on her way to see King Kong, the 1976 King Kong. So I always say that because I'm a big monster fan myself, I always go, and a huge Lauren Bacall bogey fan, I always say that like that's like the perfect girl. Named for Lauren Bacall. King Kong brought her into this world. I'm good. I'm all set.
You know what got me and my wife together? Like our first date, we're walking on the strand of the beach, and we're just we're singing like Super Freak. You know, that's a good thing. And then we started talking about the Three Stooges, and I was like, any woman that's into the Three Stooges is for me. And she was sincere, man.
Hey,
Three Stooges.
When I first met my wife, I was walking across this nightclub floor wearing a leather Three Stooges tie. And she saw that tie, and she didn't like the Stooges, but she said, "This guy's got confidence."
I guess so. Yeah.
You pulled off the tie, man.
Yeah,
I did.
Have some balls.
I did. Then we
right.
started talking about movies immediately, and I was like, "Okay, you'll do."
Right. That's what it is.
Yeah. You connected.
Graham, I got a question just about, because you know about the monster movies. You guys probably do too. Godzilla, that was a Japanese creation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this monster genre kind of was a Japanese creation. What do you think?
Kaiju. I think it was like the kaiju and stuff.
Okay.
The giant monster Godzilla was inspired by Ray Bradbury's or Ray Harryhausen's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
And
I'm trying to think of why the Japanese were interested in this monster thing.
Because of Beast of 20,000 Fathoms.
Okay, so they just kind of adopted some piece of American culture then.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Beast of 20,000
There was King
Fathoms.
Kong too. Like King Kong existed prior too.
Oh yeah, sure. King Kong was probably the first, but as far as like the giant lizard type of thing with the radioactivity,
a designed monster, not like a giant ape or something.
And then there's a separate company that owns Gamera. It's not owned by Toho.
That's not Toho. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're pretty big though in the kaiju. I mean,
they're huge.
Still doing it.
They own it now,
Yeah, well, the kaiju word was first used on the translation poster for the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Is that right?
I just found that out like 5 or 6 years ago. So The origin of kaiju movies could write, and Harryhausen, of course, would have been the first to say they took.
Wait, isn't kaiju German or something?
No, it's Japanese. Just me. I
It
think
is?
it's monster. Yeah.
I thought it meant like something about beer or
Like
something.
giant monster.
Yep.
Oh.
So what was the poster like? Kaiju from 20,000, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay, cool.
So when they translate it, so that was the thing that really got me because because I was me, we're all monster nerds here. Thank God I found everybody here. Let me just put a base note of that down. You find all.
We were just
of the
talking
monster
about this
folk.
earlier, that the internet, how it's bringing
bless.
together people with the same interest, and you're getting excited about these concepts, and the people watching the shows, in the readers are engaging with us. So it's building, it's snowballing into promoting and selling your comics. It's a new way, and it's really cool, because you get in, you hear from them, and they're like, "Oh, I want you to make that book," and then get that immediate response, and then it's a lot of fun, man. So yeah, you have found your people, Sean.
Yeah, always.
I have.
Hey, did you guys like the Peter Jackson remake of
Pacific Rim.
King
did.
Kong?
Sorry,
Oh,
Graham.
Skull Island? Oh no, the one where it's with Jack Black.
It's
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
Peter Jackson once again being self-indulgent and not being able to edit.
Yeah.
That was three
Really
and
long,
a half hours of it's just it. By the time the action started, I didn't give a shit.
Well, he prided himself on what was the one scene that was cut out, the original, when they fall in that
Oh, the
pit,
spider
all
pit.
the giant like bugs and all that stuff. Yeah, that's in the movie, and even in the new movie, it feels, or the Jackson version, it feels self-indulgent because it goes on too long, and it's once again, it's a little gratuitous. It's
Every scene goes on too long in his thing.
That one scene though, when the bugs come over the guy and just sort of eat him,
Yeah.
and that disturbed me. It's just like,
a bit
oh,
much, I thought.
Yeah,
you know what's really gross?
Cool
What a
is
way to
that,
die.
They redid that same scene. I mean, they did it for the movie, but then they also did a 1933 version where they stop motioned it. They got stuntmen dressed up in the 1930s clothes and stuff, and then they did the stop motion photography for the things, and filmed it just like Willis O'Brien did, to complete the King Kong movie. And it's on YouTube. You can look it up. It's really cool.
I do have to take you to task though, Graham. The battle between King Kong and those T-Rex.
Yeah.
In the Jackson version it's freaking amazing when they're falling through all the vines and they're hot and he's punching them. I mean, those punches that Kong is landing on those T-Rex, and
he rips their mouth, right? Doesn't he break its jaw?
Yeah,
he does that in the original Kong though.
Yeah,
wow.
It's pretty much like the original, but you get to, it's more fluid. And I don't know, the way that Kong is animated when he's landing those punches, man, you feel them,
What'd you guys think of Pacific Rim?
Still undefeated.
Ooh, yeah.
The first one, I enjoyed the first one.
That's a Willis O'Brien head too.
That's right. Yeah, NECA put this out not long ago, and I love the original King Kong, the black and white, the
50s,
glass matte paintings.
Right?
Yeah. I really enjoyed this movie that a guy I got to know recently, maybe a couple of years ago, him and I started talking. His name is Kevin Conran, and he did all the concept art, and his brother was the director on Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. I don't know if you guys like that movie at all, but
wasn't that made on a Mac? All the special effects?
I think it started.
I think it was started
right?
that way, but I don't think it was finished that way. But
oh, man, Graham, I don't know if you know his stuff, Kevin Conran. Did you see Sky Captain by any chance?
I didn't know.
It was pretty unique, yeah.
You might like
really cool looking.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the greatest
I've seen
movie,
the
like
trailers for it
story.
and stuff, and it looks like something I'd probably dig. So,
Graham, I thought the story wasn't the greatest, but it's definitely worth to check out for just the images.
The art
It's just
direction,
cool.
the art direction is really cool, and it's pretty original looking as far as the visuals. But yeah, it's kind of slow in places and stuff.
Salty for $10. That's a good cigar. Dan Lawless and Jimmy Reyes are dirty hookers, and by dirty hookers, I mean freaking awesome sauce guys. Hail chat, looking forward to Monster Island. Thank you, Salty.
Yeah, that's Sean Salter. He's got his book, Ben Franklin is Silence Do Good. I did a cover for it just recently.
What's it called? Ben Franklin what?
Ben Franklin is Silence Do Good, time travel agent.
Oh wow, that's a mouthful.
So it's Ben Franklin is brought back out of time to and has his adventures. It's pretty cool. Brought back into
I just have a feeling, Graham, between the airplane, between the
oh, that's cool.
the airplane, the giant robot. So this is this is Kevin's artwork.
Oh wow.
And they put out an art of his stuff, the Art of Sky Captain book. Recently, about 4 or 5 years ago, but it's giant robots.
Wow.
Bubble head sub hats and
very pulpy.
Everything you'd love. Yeah,
exactly.
Very pulpy.
Love it,
Hey, I don't know if you guys just Jimmy heard me earlier, but did you guys like Pacific Rim?
I like Pacific Rim. I like the monsters. I like the story. But what I didn't like is the characters. I didn't care for the lead character in that thing. I thought he was a pain in the ass.
I thought it was weird how they had to work in unison, like to do the.
I like that.
I thought it was weird. Like really,
it's weird sci-fi.
Like they're on some kind of like treadmill, and they.
Yeah.
I thought it looked hokey.
You get your exercise and you fight a monster. What the heck? Burn calories.
Yeah. But the monsters were cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
I love the colors too. It had a comic book feel to it. The colors,
I'll tell you, when I was in the theater and they played the trailer for the first time for that movie, I lost my shit. I was like, "Wow, this is amazing!"
Mm-hmm.
I wish that movie could have just been all that, but that trailer was flawless, man.
Yeah.
Flawless.
When they first announced that the U.S. was going to make new Godzilla movies and stuff, I was like, okay, I'm going to see this on an IMAX screen. I got to see Godzilla because this is the real deal. He's shooting the fire breath and everything. 45 minutes into the movie, he finally shows up, and he fights this, that other monster, and eventually, you see like one of his spines start to glow, right? And it goes, and you know what that means, right? So it just, and it builds up, and then he goes, and shoots out the fire. And I stood up in the theater, and I'm like, yeah, like that, And my wife is sitting there next to me, and I'm looking around, and we're in this IMAX theater, and I'm like, nobody seems to have reacted to this cool shot, And I'm like, what? Nothing?
Not a true fan.
Yeah, you guys are fans. Get out of here.
Yeah, I've gone to movies and you're the only one laughing at the joke, and it's like, what? Really, it's funny. Come on.
This is what we've been waiting for, man. He's shooting his atomic breath, I mean, come on.
And you're not talking about the Roland Emmerich, the
1999
ID4 version of Godzilla.
No,
right?
he didn't shoot fire breath in that.
Yeah, that was
no. He was like an Allosaurus in that. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was female. Yeah.
It was really bad. Yeah.
No, I think he's referring to Godzilla, the 2016 one where the guys are the paratroopers up in the helicopters and they.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, they all come down.
Not
from,
the Matthew Broderick one.
No, with the kid from Hit Girl. What was that Hit Girl movie? The one that they made that movie. The guy who did Wanted, Mark Millar.
Aaron Taylor Thomas. Alien.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, him.
Something like that. Yeah,
what was it called?
He wasn't that good.
I forget what that movie's called. It's got Hit Girl in it. Wasn't the movie called Hit Girl or something?
I don't know. But that Wanted movie, that freaked me out when they were like, you can put some spin on a bullet and like you're bowling. You're like, if you kind of put some English on it, the ball will kind of come back around,
Yeah, and we're all dropping our pistols, trying to swing it around.
Monster.
We're shooting our friends.
We're getting close.
Oh, you're
135 bucks. That's all we need to get the 122.
Art might have his tutu tonight.
Come on, give Art his tutu.
I need my tutu.
If we get to 122, Art's going to wear a tutu.
I'm out.
Yeah, that's not an incentive.
Failing.
No,
Get all the
oh my
refunds
God.
now.
no, Art will not wear a tutu. I'm sorry, Graham. I
Okay,
love
fair
your
enough.
brother, but I ain't wearing a tutu. For
I
you.
thought every bear wore a tutu.
Well, you can call it a kilt.
Oh yeah, that's how
Call it
Billy
a
gets away
kilt.
with
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you Billy
You just
would
got to
wear it.
spin fast enough to get it.
it.
You know,
Spin fast enough. Yeah.
And thinking about the original King Kong movie, Graham, the thing that you got me thinking about is that they made the Peter Jackson King Kong. You know, he looked like a gorilla, and I love just the visuals in it. The original is a perfect film. You know, the original King Kong is
Right.
Yeah.
But King Kong, because of the sculptor, I forget the gentleman. He was a Mexican American sculptor, fine artist.
Something
his name?
Delgado, wasn't it?
Yes.
Um,
And the way that he created King Kong, it's like its own character.
Yeah.
It's like its own thing. It's a perfect design. It's like what Jack Pierce did with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
You know, it's a perfect design, and I don't understand how, like, you could maybe update it with effects. But, you know, Godzilla, perfect design. Roland Emmerich and those guys, they didn't need to come along and rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to nudge it into now, but not scrap it. I mean, man,
Yeah.
such great designs.
It was like there's
Well,
three
Marvel
Kong heads in the
right
original. There's
now.
the large
Yeah.
head, the small head, and then the actual built robot head, whatever you want.
Yeah, the life size. Yeah.
life size head.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see in different scenes, you know, which head is which, you know, which is kind of neat.
In the original King Kong, the stop motion one, is there? I don't remember. Is there a cave scene where like Kong has like his little lair, in that version? So are there other like skeletons and skulls and stuff of like other giant apes and stuff in there?
I don't remember.
Because I thought that was kind of cool in the Jackson film, where it was just kind of like a throwaway visual, but there were other like ape, like skeletal remains.
Well, maybe
So
that was stuff he ate, you know, like other creatures.
No,
did.
I thought it gave you the feeling like that he
He's
had
the
a
last. Oh.
no, like that there were other ones like him on that island, but they had all died out, and he was the last one. So I thought it was kind of neat, kind of without saying so much as just showing that he was the last of his kind.
He's like Batman, isn't he? Where his parents were murdered. No, it's real. Like, wasn't that in the story that his parents were?
Well,
murdered?
in the Jackson one, yeah. I mean, his whole
Yeah.
he's the last of his kind, and yeah, it was they had that tragic element to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
But
they're
in the
using.
original, it's not the case. He's just kind of there, matter of fact. There's no real like backstory or anything.
That was Beauty that killed the beast, though.
That's
It
right.
was eventually.
Yeah.
Just like every one of us, you know.
Yeah, the beauty that
My
captured the
favorite
beast.
part about that, you guys probably know more about the details, is the guys that wrote King Kong, the original, those guys were like trappers. They were like adventurers.
They were adventures, yeah.
Filmmakers. They kind of did a lot of other like things, but they were traveling. They were seeing what these other parts of the world, you know, these exotic places, you know, Africa, all this stuff.
Yeah, one of them was a World War I pilot.
Yeah.
In fact, the two pilots that are in the plane with the machine guns that actually kill Kong at the end are the producers, Marion C. Cooper and what was the other guy, Sean?
Oh my gosh! Now
It's Marion C. Cooper and
Cooper and
I can't remember the other guy's name.
Right on the tip of Dan's tongue.
But they're manning the machine gun and flying the plane that actually.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew like it's just kind of bad.
Ernest. Is it Ernest B? I can't pronounce his last name.
Shown or
Yeah. I can't yeah, SCHOEDSACK. I've heard it said 1,000 times, but was it him who was the other guy who was in there? The two directors.
Yeah, is he the other producer?
Yeah, he's the other producer. Yep, Ernest.
Yeah.
Don't
Okay.
feel bad, Shant. He probably couldn't pronounce your last name either.
Let me tell you something. I couldn't pronounce my name if I wasn't born with it. Like when everybody goes,
It's so
how do
easy,
I
and
pronounce?
Jetty.
But what's funny is my kids
It's
make fun of
pronounced
me
the way
now. 'Cause
it's
I'm like,
spelled, though. How can you
whenever I
mess that
call
up?
in a food order,
Jetty.
they go, "Who's it for?" And I go, "Sean." And my kids look
Oh,
at
yeah.
me. So I always tell people, it's like, so my name is Sean, and when people were asking me, "What are your kids' name?" I go, "Well, my daughter has an Indian name, and my son's name is Aiden." And they go, "Why did you name your son? Are you Irish? Like, what is it? Are you Irish?" I go, "No, it's the most popular baby name from 2005. He was getting a keychain. You understand? He was going to get a keychain and a mug that I never.
He's gonna be able to.
one.
He's gonna be able to buy a personal license plate for the back of his bicycle.
That's right. My wife said to me, she literally, this is why my daughter has an Indian name. She goes, "I didn't marry a half Indian guy to not have a kid with one Indian name at least."
That's funny.
It is what it is, man. You know, it is what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I spell my last name the way I do, because nobody can say it the way it's spelled. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know it either.
Hibbert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got all those, the H and then the T at the end. It's like, no, it's T-Bear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Well, growing up, it was Thibert or Thibert.
That's what I
And,
pronounced it, Thibert. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in high school, and I had a German teacher, and she said the name properly, like T-Bear, our T-Bear. It was like roll call or whatever. And so I didn't
That's 'cause
stand up.
she and her cronies marched in there in 1940. They should know.
Yeah, I just snuck it all out. Yeah. But when she wasn't German, she was just teaching it.
Dark. That got dark.
Yes. Table
Yeah,
for
it
40
got
table for
dark.
40,000, sir.
Well, my grandfather is
Well, I'm
German.
not done with the story. I'm not done with the story.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I go home and I say, "Dad, is our last name T-Bear? Is it said T-Bear?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then he walked away from me. And I'm thinking, why you never answered to T-Bear? You never even said it. I've never even heard T-Bear until this one moment in time. People call you Thibert or T-Bear or whatever it is, and you answer to it. He goes, "It's just less hassle." You know, like he's just like, just go along with it. I'm
So you
like,
didn't know your pronunciation of your own name until you were in high school?
Yep.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, Salty. Sean,
Salty
your
dog.
name is Sean in the past tense.
I told
Sean.
this when I was in college.
Sean,
I told this gal, and it was so sad because she believed me. I go, actually, I said my mom wanted to name me Sean, but she had a lisp. And then this poor gal was like, "Oh," and I
Sean.
just, okay,
Sean, yeah.
not enough happening up there for this relationship to work. I don't think.
Well, you know, there is. Remember that there's that Geddy Lee. He's a bass player for Rush.
Oh,
His
yeah.
name's Gary, but his mom had such a Hungarian or accent or whatever. It was always Giddy,
Yes.
and so then that became his nickname, and it became his name. So
Oh, that's
everybody,
funny. His real name's Gary.
Gary, yeah. Like,
Giddy.
Listen,
Giddy.
he answers when mom calls to
Yeah.
Giddy.
Exactly, yeah. Get in here.
She named him, so she can call him whatever she wants.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey, you guys, talking about monsters again.
Good. Let's do it.
Did you
Monster
ever
Island.
Did you ever read Dan Barrington's?
100 away.
Oh, no, so close.
We're getting there. Yeah.
We're
Did you
getting there,
guys ever read Dan Barrington's Giant Killer?
No.
Isn't that a Norwegian?
No, you know Dan Barrington. He's a very popular Marvel comic painter. You know.
Yeah, what was his creator-owned book? It was always interesting.
He did Black Terror, which was great.
Yeah.
And a couple other things like that. And he did some Marvel. I think he did some Robin and Batman or something. But he did this one called The Giant Killer, and it was featured monsters in L.A. and after the nuclear waste kind of thing. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Nocturnals.
Nocturnals, that's the one.
Nocturnals. Yeah, I love Nocturnals too.
Thanks,
I forgot about
Jasper.
them.
Yeah.
But Giant Killer was really good. If you're interested, if you love monsters, that's a good one.
Was it all painted like his?
Yeah, it's painted in his paint, and I do love his paint.
Wasn't there
I
Jack the
love his work.
Beanstalk? Jack the Giant Killer? Wasn't that a Norwegian film or something?
Sorry, Son of Liberty. I missed this. $2 for King Kong 76 is the best version of King Kong.
Somebody
Well, maybe
agreed-
now you know why I skipped it.
I'm glad somebody else agrees with me. There was someone else in the chat earlier too, and I still think it's the best. And I got it. I want to get it in 4K because it was released in 4K, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah,
but,
somebody in the chat said they just got it in 4K.
oh man.
Yeah, I love
I went to a
Kong.
There was at the museum in LA, there was a special effects show. And so they had this guy, Carlos Rambaldi, and he's the guy,
yeah.
He created that mechanical
Yeah.
King Kong. And so they had his drawings and all that stuff and like the horror stories. And then you keep walking the little Carlo Rambaldi section, and then you're like, oh, he did E.T. too.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold that against you, but
I hated the design for E.T.
it was bad. It was like
I
a pile of poop. Like you just look like
with the neck. It's yeah.
He scared me when I was a
love
kid.
Story,
E.T.
though.
guys. I'm sorry. Like I have friends. I love E.T. is like one of my all-time favorite Touchstone movies. I'm a Spielberg kid. It is what it is. But I will tell you this: my favorite moments was talking to a buddy who works in special effects. They go, "What did you think of the E.T. design?" He goes, "It was shit." Damn it. So
But
you
it
guys are
worked.
technically
Hey, it worked for-
correct.
It worked for the story, though. It worked for the kind of
Yeah,
character. You don't want a non-threatening. You don't want like an aliens kind of guy.
He was kind of the Grays, I think, is what is what he was kind of leaning towards.
He's got to work with kids. That means non-threatening. That means a blob. So
I think they should have gone with
No, it
Geiger's
means that
alien.
they got to get somebody that can fit into the costumes.
Yeah.
I always thought like he
was
needed
there
to
somebody in
lose
there?
some weight or something.
Yeah.
Like his feet, like his fat was just hanging over his feet, like
And he was naked.
and he could barely walk.
They don't work out on his planet.
Yeah, I was like,
They skipped leg day.
You know what would be funny is if he
that-
came from a planet with very little gravity, and that if we saw him on his planet, he'd be like this. And then when we see him on Earth, the way he looks so squat,
Like a slinky.
gravity squishes him down.
You absolutely need to write that story. And
well,
have a
in the
character.
movie though, he
It's
did
like-
turn.
Yeah.
In the movie, he did turn into kind of a couch potato pretty fast, didn't he?
Yeah.
With Reese's Pieces and playing with the speaking spell.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like when you see that meme of the statue of David in Italy, and then you see it after it's toured in the United States, and he's standing there, and he's got like 40 pounds on him, big belly,
Oh my gosh.
With all the cheeseburgers.
eating McDonald's and American shit food.
Has anyone ever seen that classic science fiction film, Metropolis? Is that
Yeah.
any good?
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I just seen the
It's
poster.
really
It
old,
looks
right? It's
cool.
like really,
Yeah.
it's
If you want to see a really trippy silent film, you got to see this movie called Haxan.
Yeah, that's a trip, that movie.
Never even heard of that
movie
one.
is
Still haven't
a
seen
trip.
it through, yeah.
It's got some really incredible visuals, like that'll freak you out. Like what is that? It's like this devil thing and witches and just crazy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching on my channel a lot of public domain stuff. So I've been watching, I've been doing sort of watch parties. And so we watched, just all these great public domain, The Screaming Skull, City of the Dead, which I hadn't seen. City of the Dead. I don't know how I missed that movie. It's such a fun, flick with, young Christopher Lee in it and all these, great actors. But
actual stories.
Yeah, actual.
I mean, you watch some of those, like you actually feel like you actually retold a story. Now it's just like things happen.
That had a different title, City of the Dead, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it did. I forget what the. I wonder if I had the Blu-ray around here because I actually, even though it's in the public domain, I think I got the Arrow Blu-ray, but I don't know
Where do you find the public domain? Because I found a lot of the older sci-fi films and monster movies on Amazon, but they aren't always free.
You can search them on YouTube. Type in public domain.
Oh, okay, that's a good idea.
Then it'll come up because I've done watch parties that way too. I type in public domain like Last Man on Earth. That one's a good one. It's Richard Matheson's story, I Am Legend. Vincent Price.
I remember a short story of you're the last man on Earth, and then there's a knock at the door or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Is that how that goes?
That's not how that story goes, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, Horror Hotel Graham. That's what it was called.
Okay,
title.
that's what I thought. Yeah. I just saw. I don't know if you know this, Shant, but every year I do on my YouTube channel 31 Days of Monsters starting.
Oh yeah, I watch it every year.
Oh, okay, great.
I love it, man. Yeah.
And I think this past year I did The Wicker Man with Christopher Lee. Oh my God, what a freaking movie! That was really good.
Yeah, I didn't get past mentally. I can only remember at one dance scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sorry, Graham. Sorry.
No, it's all right. That's all I remember.
I know. I just sort of blacked out. Woke up in an alleyway. Didn't know what.
Yeah.
But no, that was.
What's with this scene? What's
creepy-
so blackouty?
Oh no, it's complicated, and you have to see it. It has to be experienced. But the ending scene of that.
Is this was that anything to do with being a young man and rather stimulated?
Young at heart as well. I'd say
young at heart. Yeah.
If you have a
Things
beating heart,
happen.
blood in
Your
your
inner
veins.
testosterone.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, those movies are great. So what did you when you were talking about that movie, what were the big, outside of the creepy factor, what were the big things that struck you about it?
I like the performances and the surprise of what was going on that island. I thought that was really cool. You didn't really know. And then also, the reveal that the cop was this sort of uptight virgin, which you didn't realize, because you had to be a virgin to be sacrificed. He came across as very moral and very Christian and very somewhat judgmental of these kind of flower power people. But he had his shit too, and he ended up paying for it, in the end. It was really cool.
Graham, share my
Sure.
my screen.
That's somebody's
Hey.
grandmother,
Isn't that Tootsie?
Oh.
That's the first casting for Tootsie,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
This is for you,
You
Sean.
can't assume his gender.
Yeah, this is anyway. So anyway, when I dated her in high school, first of all, she had a great personality. I want to
Mrs.
state that
Doubtfire?
for the record, okay?
What's their pronouns?
Graham will know. Is this a Herb Trimpe? No, that's like a
That
South.
looks like a
Medea.
Sal Buscema.
That's a Sal Buscema, right?
Yeah.
There.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can tell by that forearm back here.
Wait, is that
Yeah.
Medea?
Yeah.
So
But this is for Sean. It's
Her pronouns were and what?
was Rhesus,
Yeah.
Getting that.
Oh. Oof.
That's funny.
Yeah, have any of you guys seen that movie where they travel through South America and it's got large monsters, but they're aliens, and the movie is called Monster, and they're actually traveling through South America, and they hire a reporter to a guy that works for the newspaper, the man that her father owns the newspaper.
Yeah.
Did y'all ever see that movie?
Yeah, I
seen
did.
it.
That the guy who directed that is the guy who directed the modern Godzilla movie.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I've seen that movie. It's
'Cause
crazy.
I think
Yeah, Monsters. It's called.
Monsters, yeah. And that was a great movie. And they said they actually filmed it where the guy actually had a camera, and those people in the background are really South American people. Like they
I
weren't
think it's Mexico. I think
Mexico, yeah, and they weren't. They actually weren't like background actors. They were actually real people in the background. That's how they saved money filming the movie.
there's like military zones that were, like were safe zones, kind of like occupied zones where monsters occupied this area and you couldn't go through, and they had to get through. They were stuck in it and they had to get through it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great movie. Yeah.
Cool idea. Yeah. It's kind of like District 9. Like I always think, is that?
Yeah, that one was a little. That one was a little off.
Out there. Yeah.
Doc Brewski says Jimmy was an extra in that movie. Yeah, if you pause it in like an hour into the movie, you'll see me in the background eating my burrito, all confused. Like, why do they got a camera?
You're getting
Hey,
killed by
man.
an Indian or a monster to get your burrito.
Yeah, I'm not sharing my burrito.
There was this place in Southern California where I lived. It was mom and pop Mexican food restaurant, and they had this thing called the Monster Burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how you feed the monsters.
We have them in Texas too. We have the monster burritos in Texas.
Monster burrito. Sometimes you can get them wet. Wet monster burrito.
What does wet mean? Like sauce on it?
Yeah. You eat it with a fork and a knife.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Oh, we did it!
Woo.
We did it! Woohoo!
Art got his
Brilliant.
tutu.
I'm gonna go get my
Fun.
tutu on, do a little dance for you guys.
Where's the beach
Do a
ball?
little
Get on the beach
dance,
ball with the tutu.
make a little
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Graham.
Thank
congratulations.
you. I appreciate you guys coming on. You know, it's been
Yeah.
awesome.
There's a lot of twos. I got an extra 2 out of the 2-2. I got a 2-2-2.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Wasn't that a movie? I mean, a TV show? And the
Oh,
222?
room 222.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they torture the children.
Boy,
This would have been a
dang.
good time for Billy Tucci to show up.
That's right.
Yeah. Speech.
Yeah, speech, Graham, indeed.
I'd like to thank everybody, one and all, for. I would really. It is a good point to say thank you to everybody who backed this project. I know you guys are going to really like it. I've got the 8-page stretch goal story is done. It's been lettered and colored, and I'll be getting that out to the proofreader probably tomorrow. And all the other files are just about ready to go, and I'll get those over to the printer, and then we get on their schedule, and we'll be fulfilling by September on this bad boy. And we're launching Joe Frankenstein 3 on Friday, right here on this channel at noon. So if you guys will show up, that would be awesome, and help launch that project. Chuck Dixon will be on the show with me. And of course, all you guys are invited as well, and it should be a good lunch. I'll probably do an evening one too. I usually do a 12 o'clock launch, just for maybe an hour or so, get everybody's feet wet, get the campaign up and running, and work out any bugs that may usually show up. And then we'll be off and running, and I'll probably pop back in the evening when people are home from work too. So that's going to be a fun one. I'm looking forward to
We're going
that.
to do any Frankenstein trivia? Or
Sure, we'll do
movies or
Frankenstein
something?
trivia. Why not? That'll be
Yeah.
fun. It's a good idea, Jimmy. So
I
get some
have them
trivia.
every now and then. I stumble into a good idea,
Sean, get working on that. Get some trivia.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love. Let me say, like I've just been looking at. I did a wasn't really a watch party because we had a link to it in the chat, but the best adaptation of the book Frankenstein is this Hallmark adaptation they did. Donald Sutherland is the captain of the ship, trapped in the Arctic, but it was an outstanding adaptation. But for me, it's its own entity, isn't it? The Boris Karloff, original it's just cinematic genius. It's lightning in a bottle, and it's a perfect film. And I've done paintings of Boris Karloff's, as the monster so many times, and it's like I learn something new every time, because that makeup plus his face is one of the all-time. What else is there? It's an American icon of cinema.
And at the time, he was a sort of a out of work middle-aged actor. He was very thin. He took a bridge out of his mouth so that part of it would cave in and look even more sunken. The makeup enhanced that. And by the time they made Bride of Frankenstein, which the critics like even better, which I don't, he was, flowing in money, and was eating better and was a little heavier. Didn't have that cadaverous look that he had in that first one, which was just perfect to me.
Lightning in a bottle. It's alive.
Alive, exactly.
Young Frankenstein.
Everybody was.
See, there was I think it was a BBC. I saw this when I was a kid, and it reversed explained. I think I never read the Mary Shelley book, but so Victor brought the dead to life, but this guy was just, they didn't cut him up from cadavers, didn't do all that stuff. He was a good-looking dude. So Victor introduced him to high society. So he passed as like this gentleman and all this other stuff. And he was good-looking. The women loved him and all this stuff. But what happened is since he was dead, he was kind of going back to what he originally was. So he starts decaying throughout the story.
That's
he-
Frankenstein: The True Story.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Michael Sarrazin. Oh,
I don't even have to get out of my chair to get my closest Frankenstein book. This book has got the best title. It's Frankenstein: The First 200 Years. Wow. And what I love about it is it's got the handwritten, I guess, Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, depending on that day in there, the photos of it. And I always try to remind people that this 200-year incredible phenomenon, like with everything we do, started on the page.
Yeah,
started here, and it changed the world. And it's incredible.
The thing I don't understand. Okay, you got these women, and they're trying to like, oh, the first woman to be a Marvel hero or whatever. Mary Shelley created science fiction. Like that's the first science fiction book, and also she crosses over.
As bad as Nika.
Yeah, the NECA Boris Karloff Frankenstein, which is the most incredible reference accurate likeness.
I've got that.
Shant and Graham,
great.
Do you consider Frankenstein to be the first undead?
Wow, that's a good question. I think when you say undead, you mean like a zombie?
Like a zombie, would he be?
Is the undead. Frankenstein was the never alive.
Yeah. Oh, I thought they used body parts of. Oh, okay. So they used scrap pieces.
Lived. He was put together.
He was never alive.
Born.
But I always thought that BBC thing was kind of cool, and it was more horrific to see that guy, like his face was kind of decaying, and he was becoming the monster. And then there was a scene where he leaves on a sailing ship to like Antarctica or whatever, and basically Victor and the monster just are like destined to just live out their days on this like this cold tundra.
Did you see the one on Showtime, Art? It's very similar to that, where Victor creates a very handsome Frankenstein, but he's gay for him, and it's a real story. I'm not joking. It sounds like a funny, but it was on that. It's on that one with that girl from that. She was on 300 something Green, whatever her name was. Green.
Oh, Ava Green.
Ava Green. Ava Green's in that, and it was a TV show on Showtime, and I'm forgetting what it was called. Penny something, Penny Evil, or Penny
Dreadful, you mean?
Penny Dreadful, yes.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
And that's a Frankenstein type story?
It's got Victor Frankenstein in it.
It's got Frankenstein's got Mr. Hyde. It's got Dorian Gray.
Yeah, Dorian Gray.
Yeah. It's shit. It's woke shit,
Yeah, but Victor Frankenstein is like he's gay for the monster he created.
Yeah.
Well, Victor Frankenstein at the new Universal Park is Victoria Frankenstein.
I know.
Oh.
That figures.
Well,
a woman wrote the book, for God's sake.
I was about to think about it. They're saying to themselves, we want to do something that's feminist. We're going to ignore what this great woman author did.
Right.
Well, the reason it doesn't make any sense is it's a guy thing to do. Women can give birth. Women can create life. Men cannot. So it makes more sense thematically for a guy to do it than a woman to do it. So I don't even think thematically it's a good idea.
Salty for $20. That is a good cigar. Frankenstein was written by Percy Bass Shelley, who was simply simping hard for her. Let's stop pretending women can write men. Look at Marvel, DC, and IDW today. Nothing has changed.
Percy, I would imagine some dude, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, her husband was this incredibly famous author, and I think what I suspect happened, just knowing a little bit of her biography, knowing a little bit of all of that kind of stuff, her mother dying and, having, giving birth to her, and then reading her mother's views about motherhood and all of that. I'm sure there's elements of that may have featured into it. But I think, in my personal take on it, I think that judging by the other stuff she wrote, it's very likely they were a couple. They were very much in love. She had this interesting idea, and I'm sure they collaborated on it. And I think it was outside of. It's weird how that's become such an unthinkable thing, men and women getting along and being productive. But that's why we're all here.
Sharing ideas,
Yeah, making children, why we're all here. It's weird.
Yeah, I think they've always speculated that she did work with somebody, but it's still her idea. She did all the heavy lifting, all that other stuff. So
don't simp for her.
I thought it was her father that was the famous writer.
No, it was her husband,
Oh,
Percy
Yeah,
Shelley.
and
Well, the thing is,
You
like,
know-
good ideas. I mean, we're all married, you know, like you talk to your wife about a comic book idea, IP, something, you know, and you're struggling with it, and you're having dinner, and you just pitch it to her, and then she's like, "Oh, well, how about this?" And
I
then you're
pitch
like,
it to her every night.
"It's perfect."
Sometimes you get a strike, and sometimes
Sometimes I get a foul ball, but you know.
Oh man, you know,
Just remember, sometimes you
Sometimes a
strike
home
out,
run.
sometimes you strike out.
think about
Grand
what
slam.
Carl Laemmle and those guys at Universal did with monsters. When you think about it, Frankenstein's a story that takes place over this very extended period of time, and they had to squeeze that in to a sensational get butts in seats movie and show them something spectacular they've never seen before. And one of my real sincere hopes, not that I'm wildly for colorizing things, although They Shall Not Grow Old, that World War I doc they colorized,
Yeah.
is a masterpiece. I think it's Peter Jackson's best film, in my personal opinion. But it's I would love for the 100th anniversary in 1931 for them to utterly upscale, release in theaters, but also do a colorized version for modern audiences. Not over the top, but like what they did, like do the research. What did Jack Pierce want the makeup to look like? Because that movie is a masterpiece and it's a part of American cultural heritage. And I think people need to just, you know, whether it's through Abbott and Costello, which is how I introduced my kids, you know, Glenn Strange to the monsters. Those movies are incredible. I love that whole time.
Well, you know what else like that is the burning windmill in the first Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Like there's iconic locations, you know, like there's scenes that are like the lab, obviously, and it is the little girl by the river or the lake, you know, like all that stuff is like
the Tyrolean villages.
Yeah, those locations are just as iconic as the story or as the character, because I have those visuals burned into my brain, you know, all that stuff. It's iconic. It's movie magic, and that's why Universal's still milking it. You know, they're still making money off that Universal stuff. You know, almost 100 years later.
Yeah, they released it in a new format, 4K now. You can get all the classics.
Well, the whole Joe Frankenstein idea came out of my love for the Universal movies, monster movies. And one of my favorites really falls into the B category, but it was like a precursor of Indiana Jones. It's The Mummy's Hand. It was
That's the one you told me to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the one I told you to watch. I mean, yeah, it's action, adventure, comedy, and horror all together in 90 minutes. And this guy's a two-fisted archaeologist, just like Indiana Jones. And you know they're looking for this princess's tomb, and they find this mummy, and they can't figure it out. And then there's this priest that's keeping it alive, you know, protect the tomb, and it's just really, really cool and fun. And
the original Mummy has some of those aspects too, right? Because aren't there like the American
creature from the Black Lagoon had a lot of that?
Well, the original Mummy is basically Dracula in bandages. It's the same plot, you know, and it has some of the same cast, in fact, too. It's basically an unrequited love through the ages with an undead creature, and he's after a girl, and but you know, it was filmed by Carl Freund, and once got Boris Karloff in it. But he's only in the mummy wrappings, you know, in the very beginning of the movie for like a couple seconds. You only see him, you know, in the tomb, and then you see like his hand and you see his foot, and that's it. The rest of the time you see him as Boris Karloff, but like his skin is all wrinkly and dried out.
Yeah, I love that effect. I love painting.
But there is like an element of Tomb Raiders in the film, though. There is like an archaeological like dig and stuff, right?
Sure.
Well, in the Creature from the Black Lagoon, they have the archaeologists that find the fossilized remains of one of those creatures, and they have a lot of that in there. It reminded me a lot of like Jurassic Park and.
that movie, that IP really has to be remade. Is the creature in its truest sense, just kind of like built
Julie
off
Adams
of it more.
can't be replaced, man. You know.
And I think that they should do it like they did the original, like actually have divers and suits and stuff like that. Because I think that's what makes that movie so cool. Because that water's all murky and they swimming through it.
And with the two creatures, the two divers that played the creatures, one was like 5'4" and the other one was like 6'2".
Rico Browning.
Ben Chapman was like 6'6", and Rico Browning was like 5'9".
Yep. Just lost Rico Browning recently, right? That wasn't too long ago. Yeah.
You can tell which is which in stills by counting the chest plates.
What did you guys think of Art
really?
Adams'
Because they had a different suit, so they actually
one was taller, so they needed more plates.
So they didn't make the plates bigger. They just added.
Yeah.
They'd be like if any gram plates.
What do you on that? Adams,
I gotta take off. Oh, go on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna close it off here. We're gonna run it out. So if you got to go, Art, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. The book looks great. Congratulations, and congratulations to everybody who's backed and supported the Monster Island books and Graham Nolan, because you get a quality product each and every time. So you guys take care. Have a good night, and boom, baby. See you on the Kings.
See you, bro. Yeah,
Right.
take care.
I'm heading out.
Comics
too.
are alive and well.
We're gonna wrap her up here. Let's just do one more.
Yeah, let's
refresh here to see how we end the night, because we're gonna turn the button off.
Oh,
122, 115. That's a nice number. So thank
Beautiful.
you everybody who backed this. Much appreciated. Again, Joe Frankenstein 3 will be launching Friday, so you don't want to miss that. My friends here, Sean, Jimmy, Dan, I really appreciate you guys coming in too and talking. And Sean, we got to talk monster movies again. I got to have you on. We'll do some monster talk.
Love to do it anytime, and we have to talk. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, The Hunted. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Hunted movie yet.
Eric, I was just signing off, Eric.
Oh no!
See, that's his key word. He waits for everybody to go, we're about to close the stream. Then he's like, gotta get in, make FaceTime.
And then he can say, I was on the stream.
I was there. I supported.
Yeah. My brother.
Well, let me just say good night to everybody. Thanks for having me on. It was a wonderful show. Congratulations on the campaign. It's
thanks, buddy.
Great. Hopefully close out strong. And I enjoyed all the wonderful conversations we had.
Excellent.
Graham, did you thank Eric for his support? You didn't thank him.
that was very poor of me there, Jimmy. So, Eric, thank you so much for coming and sharing those stories with us, and really appreciate it.
Anytime.
It was almost like you weren't even here
with my friends.
Yeah. Anytime you want to talk monsters, I'm game, and I am looking forward to the launch of Joe Frankenstein.
Yeah, brother.
Sounds like it's going to be fantastic.
Gotta do that trivia, man.
Launching Joe Frankenstein Friday, Eric. Just FYI.
Or some movie facts about the production.
Joe
of
Frankenstein.
We've got a big family thing going on Friday, but
do you? Okay, no worries.
10 or 15 minutes. I'll at least.
This is
I put a lot of time in today.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I'm asking too much.
Yeah. I got to see my family sometime, Graham.
Understood, brother. Understood.
Well, you guys streamed earlier or what?
Not even a little.
Wait, didn't you say you were making a barbecue or something tonight? Or that's what you were doing?
What's that? Yeah. I was on the grill tonight for dinner, but that was earlier today. But no, we have a family event happening on Friday night. So.
Oh, okay.
He's like, wait, I forgot which excuse I gave. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm actually launching at noon.
Noon.
Oh, actually.
Yeah, it's an all day thing.
I thought you said it was at night. Okay.
Well,
it's a big family, Graham.
We have a thing. The kids are the last day of school is tomorrow, and the first day of summer we have what we call Kids Day, and we give them free reign to pick what we do, where we go, like where we eat, and all that stuff. So it's not a complete yes day, but it is like, okay, we're gonna go see this, we're gonna do that. You want to hang out and watch this or play that game or go to the arcade or whatever. So we spend all day just kind of doing whatever the kids want to do. So that's how we're spending our Friday at the Weathers household.
That sounds nice.
Yeah,
Nothing beats family.
Summertime.
absolutely.
All right, so we'll say goodnight,
Congratulations.
guys. Thank you, everybody, for helping close out the campaign. It was a lot of fun, and look forward to seeing you guys again.
Excellent.
Absolutely, man.
Take care.
Take
Congratulations.
it easy.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Have a great night. And stream.